Don't be stupid, boys. Turn off Clyde, support your side.
I would like to leave this city. This old town don't smell too pretty, and I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. And when I leave this island, I book myself into a soul asylum, 'cause I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. So here I go, I'm still scratching around in the same old hole. My body feels young, but my mind is very old. So what do you say? You can't give me the dreams in your mind anyway.
An extended family, really, but I think it all comes together when the Celtic support come together here for games, and I think the European nights are perfect examples of that. I think Seville was an unbelievable example of that. We had guys from all over the world all just coming together for this. I think I've described it before as a cause. Once they come together, there's never any trouble or anything like that. They just want to support Celtic and give the right signals to people that what the club's all about, And it's not been any different from me. I don't think I've ever looked on myself as anything other than a supporter who was lucky enough to get to play for Celtic.
Skinny midfielder to Mario Juniors, he went in 73. A shock of red hair and a style and a flair that was there for all to see. He played his first game in 75, 503 games more. The boy from the Calton was better than Charlton. Those who saw him, well, they knew the score. Whoa, whoa. He runs and he twists and he turns. Whoa, whoa. I remember our Tommy Burns. He went to Kilmarnock, he got them promoted. Then a call from Fergus McCann. Come back to your hometown to manage yourself. It's time you know it's where you belong. This team, they play with passion, with the Canyon, Cadetti and Tom. A more gifted team you rarely see. Those who watch them remember it well. Whoa, whoa. He runs and he twists and he turns. Whoa, whoa. I remember our Tommy Burns. In 2008, well, they laid him to rest. In St. Peter's he lies to this day. And thousands they mourned him, the Celts they adored him, the crowd sent him on his way. And family, faith and football, they're the things that matter the most. If you want to know what's a Celtic man, I'll point you towards Tommy Burns. Whoa, whoa. He runs and he twists and he turns. Whoa, whoa. I remember our Tommy Burns. Whoa, whoa. He runs and he twists and he turns. Whoa, whoa. I remember our Tommy Burns. I remember
Can I thank the Celtic support that are there and they're always there for walking down this road of my life, which has been memorable. Can I thank my God and my family for being my reason, and they are all my reasons. Thank you.
Tommy Burns, ladies and gentlemen.
Good day, good evening, good afternoon and good morning to wherever you are in the world. You're listening to the Half the World Away Celtic podcast on Hail Hail Media, and you're listening to the voice of Kevin O'Neill in not so sunny Mandurah, although it is 7 o'clock in the evening over here. But in Mandurah, Western Australia, on the show tonight I have my partner in crime, I suppose, and good old China plate, Mr. Patrick Close. G'day, Pat.
G'day, Kevin. How are we?
G'day, Pat. I'm very good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, fine and dandy. It's been a good week. Had a good St Kilda win over the AFL's Sevco, so it was good on Monday night. Which, if there's any Carlton fans listening, get it right up you.
I have to say, I must admit, I had tipped Carlton in the old footy tipping at work, and yes, St Kilda, for those back home that don't exactly follow the Aussie rules, St Kilda were absolutely trouncing Carlton quite handsomely, but then you must have got a little scared towards the end, Pat, because I think Carlton were coming back at you, but you hung on in the end, didn't you?
It was quite funny because a lot of the Carlton fans were leaving, because of 5 and a bit goals up. By 3/4 time, so it was quite amusing to watch them. So I'm going to pan out the ground. So it was nerve-wracking stuff. We were actually chatting, not that this is an AFL show, but I go to the games, St Kilda games with a couple of Celtic fans. So Brian Kenny, Feast Kilbride, if anybody knows him, in Clinton, he's an Aussie boy, but he's a die-hard Celtic fan. He and I and Brian's couple of sons were at the game, and we were sitting at 3/4 time, thinking, this is brilliant, beating Carlton. It really is like it's like beating Rangers, like Carlton are just one of those teams. And we're just sitting there sort of chatting away, and I said, we can't lose it from here, can we? And we all kind of laughed, saying, yeah, well, if you're a St Kilda fan, you could lose a game from any position, from any lead, and we almost did. So
very nearly, mate.
Got us back to 4 points, and then, we're lucky. A breakaway goal, and we beat them, so...
Right, but as you said, Pat, this is not an Aussie rules show. This is ridiculous. This is a Celtic show we're on here. So before everybody starts complaining, we might as well get on with what we've got in store tonight. Now, I have also, I've been saying to Pat several times during the course of this week, and I said it again just before we came on air tonight, that without a shadow of a doubt, there's no way this show is going to be as long as the last two we've done. The last two have been just under the 3-hour mark. I don't want to go there this week. I want a break from that, and I don't want you poor souls to have to say that's even going to consider even listening in just now or downloading it later or go on to Spreaker and say, bloody hell, there's another 3-hour load of nonsense. I'm going to just skip it this week. It's going to be, I'm going to say it right now, Pat, we'll see how we go. For me, 1.5 max, mate. What do you think? Is it a good chance of that happening?
Well, we can try. We can match. Well, looking at little Spreaker console, we can get another 290 minutes.
Right.
So we should. Anyway, Kev, let's get it started and see how.
What we need to do, we need your help to make this happen, though, folks, because we've got a few tweets coming in already. Please do keep your tweets coming in if you're listening live, and we'll try to interact as much as we can with you. We'll give you a few shout outs, and if there's any questions or subjects you want us to chat about live, we're happy to do so, as long as it's relevant enough, I suppose. But before I go any further, I suppose the little intro to the show tonight was pulled together by Pat, and I think it was very fitting. This has been quite a week, I suppose, of anniversaries, key anniversaries. If you're a Celtic fan, we had the 5th anniversary of Tommy Burns, God rest him. And that was a fitting tribute that Pat managed to pull together for us. I hope you all enjoyed listening to that. The song, if you weren't familiar with it, was by the Malleys, the Tommy Burns song by the Malleys. So you can find that on YouTube if you enjoyed it. But yeah, the little bits of audio as well, I managed to listen to it before the show, and I think it was very fitting, Pat. So thanks for pulling that together, mate. We've also got, at the end of the show tonight, we'll play a bit of an outro. Again, Pat's managed to get permission from our good friend, the Human Torpedo, who many of you will know. And this is one that he did on Bobby Murdoch. It's Bobby Murdoch's 12th anniversary of passing this week as well. And we just thought it'd be a nice touch to play a little tribute to the great man that was Bobby Murdoch as well at the end of the show tonight. So you can look forward to that later on, folks. But yeah, I just thought
Kev,
yeah, sorry, Pat.
We haven't quite got permission yet. So
Have we not?
No, I have been emailing him and tweeting him and stuff, but
well,
so,
it's happening, eh? So
if you're listening,
if you're listening,
if you're listening, mate, we do apologize.
If anybody knows the Human Torpedo, in fact, you should tweet him just now actually and ask.
I've been tweeting him. I've been trying. He's a break.
So he's not getting back to us.
No, he doesn't like me. No, we've been trying to do a wee bit of work. Hopefully something that works out in the future. We've been trying to, I guess, resurrect some of the Human Torpedo's old tributes from the Celtic Underground podcast. So try to do a bit of work with them there. So we'll see how it pans out. With ding, can I do the first see how it pans out gag?
You can, mate.
So we'll see how it pans out with Human Torpedo and see if that any progresses from there. But it's a exciting little project as well. So yes, but we'll play out at the end of that one, and I think it's only 5-6 minutes, and then we'll play a little bit of a theme song as well. But it's I don't know about you guys and people out there listening, but the Human Torpedo stuff, I absolutely love that stuff on the Celtic Underground. So hopefully we can do work with them in the future, and so do a bit of do one or two other ones. So anyway, moving on.
No, all sounds good. So as I kind of hinted at earlier on, folks, determined to keep this to an hour and a half. So if you are going to Skype us in tonight, you can feel free and you can Skype us on Half the World Away.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
Half the World 88.
Seriously? I mean, seriously.
I thought I had this sorted the last show. Do you know what it is? I explained this before. When I'm looking at it in Skype, the name comes up as Half the World Away. So I just read what's in front of me, Pat. You need to get off my back with this, mate. Wait till I get this part right. Tweet us on @halftheworld88.
You're
now, that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, tick.
They're your two best ways of getting in touch with us tonight, folks. But you can also, obviously, if you're on Spreaker there's the chat room as well. I'll try my very damnedest to get across as many of these things as I can. I'll definitely be on Twitter. So if you're tweeting in, I'll try to keep up to date with that stuff. If you're in the chat room, I'll try my damnedest to keep up with the patter on there. And if you do fancy calling in, please do call in early. Krauski on the last show called in just as I was honestly about to wind it up, and good old Krauski came in, and I didn't have the heart to just chop it short. So I'm going to blame Krauski for the last show going on for just under 3 hours, which isn't really fair. But Krauski, if you're listening in,
get in quick.
Give us a Skype, mate. I think you said you were going to be sitting outside with your shades on to Madam. If Madam is listening as well, Vmar Miss Minskis MA_R. If you're listening in at all, Madam, and you're wanting to Skype us, please feel free tonight as well. We'll have some banter on the show as well. Right.
Well, we should kind of beg people to join in to call in, because it's only you and me. And that's like when we were chatting on Wednesday night. It's just like, recording that and putting it on air. It's not the same.
We were chatting on Wednesday night, Pat, but it was meant to be a 5-minute chat, and it was still bloody 45 minutes. Yeah, You've always got this perpetual fear that there's going to be dead air or whatever they call it.
No, I haven't. I'm just being semi-professional.
While I've got my beer in hand, mate, my little Friday nights, it's all good. In fact, this show this evening has been brought to you in association with Heineken. That's the beer of choice for me this evening. So yes, I'll maybe change beers every now and again, but tonight it's Heineken, folks.
Well, the highest bidder, Kev, whoever gives us the most money for sponsorship should be.
Good call. Didn't think of that there.
Well,
Right,
can
anyway.
can I comment that I've got a sore throat and I'm on Fisherman's Friends? So yeah, slightly different scale, but anyway. So
Right.
I apologise in advance if I forget to mute the microphone when I'm clearing my throat. So apologies everyone.
Okay, mate. Well, you said that Fisherman's Friends. There's a very, very tenuous link here, but I'm just going to put this out there to anybody that's listening just now. We're going to talk about something a little bit later on in the show, and it's there is a Celtic connection with the Gilbert and Sullivan operetta Pirates of Penzance. Now, if anybody can tweet us in with what the Celtic connection is to Pirates of Penzance, that little operetta, let us know, and you will win the accolade of being the person that gets it right. Nothing more at this stage. So yeah, let us know about that, and we will see how it pans out.
We will.
Now, when you mentioned that, I was going to try to be a bit more subtle with getting as many of these in as possible, Pat, but you gave it a ding earlier on.
I need to find one of those sound effects. There's sound effects on Twitter.
Please don't, mate.
On Twitter, on Spreaker.
I'll tell you what I used to hate. See, back in the old days back in Scotland, when we'd be coming home from the game, and invariably it'd be bloody Super Scoreboard that we'd be listening to on the radio on the way back with big fat Derek Johnson, and it was that forced laughter that they put on, and bloody Paul Cooney or latterly Peter Martin doing that bloody bell that they used to ding. Honest to God, it used to burst my arse.
Alright, so I need to find a bell then. Give me a sec, I'm on it.
No,
you can't hear it, that's the thing. You'd have to listen back to hear it.
Well, we'll find it all you want then. Yeah. Right, but anyway, listen, we're going to start actually talking about something now. I'm not going to. Will we even mention the game last week? Because it seems so long ago now. But we did lift and get presented with the SPL trophy. In fact, we might as well talk about this because you had made a point, Pat, that you'd sent me an email during the week, and your point was the game we'll talk about in a second, but the actual trophy presentation. In fact, I'll quote what you said in your email. You said there was a stupid woman in pink suit who handed over the trophy. WTF, he says.
Yeah, WTF, exactly.
WTF, was that all about? Now, funnily enough, a good friend of ours, another Melbourne-based Tim, who incidentally is now a daddy, him and his beautiful partner Paula had a lovely little bouncing baby girl this week, so I'll give our good friend Stevie Fallons a shout out there. But yes, congratulations Stevie. But yes, Stevie and myself used to work with that stupid woman in the pink suit that handed over that trophy. Her name is Debbie Crosby it's actually National Australia Group Europe, but obviously they own the Clydesdale Bank. And Debbie, would you believe, gave me a job interview, Patrick.
Whoa.
If you can believe such a thing.
Well, there you go.
She didn't wear a pink suit when she gave me the job interview. It was a number of years ago. She didn't have as fluffy hair as she seemed to be sporting at the weekend there either. But I must admit, poor Debbie, she looked like a bit of a fish out of water, didn't she?
Oh, it was ridiculous. We were absolutely cacking ourselves at the pub watching the game. We thought it was hilarious. This poor woman, she had absolutely no idea what she was doing. No. And then the bold Lenny, the bold Lenny walks up and has a little quiet word, and he saves her, quiet word in the ear, I think the comment in the pub was, "I'll see you later, sweetheart."
Yeah.
I'll catch you upstairs in my office, I think. So yes, it was a shocker. Poor woman.
Poor Debbie. She's a lovely lass, and she was a very smart girl, but I wouldn't say she was much of a football fan. So certainly not of a Celtic persuasion, that's for sure. But not. So she must be not much of a Celtic fan at all.
She must be fairly senior if she's handing over.
Oh, she is. Well, at that time, I don't know what she does now, but at that time she was. Well, she was head of some IT kind of department, but then she got made the kind of chief IT officer for Europe for National Australia Group, mate, if you please. There you go. So yeah, she was in charge of all IT stuff for Clydesdale Bank and the Yorkshire Bank, mate. So, but anyway, enough about bloody old work and stuff like that. But I just thought I'd mention that, and it was a little bit of a strange thing to see an old boss on the telly handing over a trophy. But anyway, the performance itself, Pat, 4-0, pretty convincing. Given that, it was we didn't want the party to be spoiled. We were going to be getting presented with a trophy. Convincing victory. What was your thoughts on the game?
It was just everyone was switched on from the first minute, really, weren't they? So even Ledley's goal just settled the team right down. There was no real stress, there was no worry. It was just a day of enjoyment. It was I loved the game, and I think it wasn't a negative, but I think one of the comments that came from the guys I was with was, we should be playing like that a bit more often this season. And again, it's not a criticism of the game. It was just like, well, if you turn it on in that sort of game, and okay, the pressure's off, but they should, in theory, be able to turn it on at least every second, third game, and maybe we just haven't had that sort of team out there. I don't know, but you thought that we might have been a bit more of that during the season. But yeah, it was fairly convincing, great victory, and really enjoyable to watch. But obviously a couple of little snippets that came up during the game, which we'll probably talk about. Pointing no elbows and all that, but subtle hint there. So I'd say all round performance, no issues. Good to see Mulgrew back at in centre half, that sort of position, and I still reckon it suits him much better. But Scott Brown coming into the team obviously made a huge difference, and I think that's maybe one of the things we'll chat about later. Is have we missed him? Is he the missing sort of I guess piece to the team actually clicking? I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's all round, no issues with any of the players really.
I think the pleasing thing for me as well was to see James Forrest putting in a pretty good performance for the contribution he had anyway, but also the way he took his goal. I think it was the third goal that Forrest scored, and I mean, it was a really good move from back to front, and you could actually see the goal panning out before a good few seconds before he hit the back of the net. But it was just a really good move, but a really good strike with the wee man as well. And it's good for his confidence, I think, coming back. It's a pity. It's the old cliche as well that the season's ending too soon for him now. He want to just keep it going, but it's pretty good, I think, with the cup final coming up next week. And again, we'll maybe talk about that, or probably will talk about that later on, but it's good to see wee Forrest coming back into the fray, I think, because he's another one like Brown that, personally, I think we probably have missed a bit for that little bit of a different dimension to the team that both those players give us. So I guess other than the convincing victory, because it's always nice to do that when you want to enjoy the occasion, but you don't want to go out in a whimper. You want to go. You want to be finishing the match with a nice resounding victory rather than scraping a little 1-0 or worse, something like that. So to get a nice little rounded 4-0 victory is always a nice way to lead into the trophy presentation, things like that. So I think it's really good.
And it kind of sets you up as well. I know there was chat in the pub about essentially what we do next. Dundee United coming up, do you start resting players? But I think the whole idea was to try and get the players, I guess, a bit refreshed and stuff like that coming back for the game and stuff, and hopefully that's kind of the way it's going to work out for them. So, but yeah, like I said, that was one of the frequent comments. I guess what it was what we're going to do next. Is it going to be reserve guys next week, or is it they're going to try and keep momentum up?
Yeah, exactly. Or sorry, are you meaning like this weekend against Dundee United? Yeah.
I mean, you've got guys like Forrest who's been out a while. You got Brown who've been out a while. These sort of guys, you'd like to think they're going to, sort of hang around as well. But not that there's really, I guess, much to risk with these guys. But Brown certainly looked sort of fresh when he came in. I mean, Forrest, is a bit injury prone, but just for the level of fitness, you want to get into a game like that. You'd sort of want him to get another game under his belt. You know what I mean? So, but it'll be interesting to see what he does on Sunday. Yeah. Or over Morrow, sorry.
Over Morrow, yeah, and we do, and we'll see how it pans out.
Well, we'll see.
But
ding.
Again, we spoke about this in the last show as well, and I think we've discussed it a few times about the dilemma of do you go into an important do you try to keep momentum going by playing your strongest team, or do you you try to wrap some of your players in cotton wool to keep them fresh for the final in the hope that they're going to hit the ground running. Now, I think we saw a bit of an example with that on at the weekend there, because we did play a fairly strong team, and I think that was always going to be the case anyway, to get the players involved for the trophy presentation game. But the pleasing thing for me there was that they did look sharp, and they didn't look as if some of them had been on a holiday. And if they did, it certainly didn't. They didn't have any problems motivating themselves for that particular game. So I would like to think that for this game on Sunday against Dundee United, I'm hoping that whatever happens, so whether or not he drops a few players or whether or not he goes with a fairly strong team to keep that momentum going into the final the following week, I'm not so concerned now as to whatever Lenny decides to do, because I'm confident that if he does even put out a weakened team, that by the time the final comes round, those guys are going to have it very, very fresh in their mind. The whole what it's like to lift a piece of silverware on the day, it's going to be fresh in their mind, and they're going to want to taste some more of that again. So I think that'll be enough motivation for them to go on. But anyway, we'll see how it pans out. Pat, that's what we'll do.
Ping.
Now, the bold Craig has tweeted this in there to say, and I'm devastated with this because Craig's one of our regular contributors, either on Twitter or when he calls in. He's saying he can't listen in today, boys. Have a good show. We'll download it tonight.
Oh,
that's just not.
Who's listening though? It's only you and me then.
It's just not on. I'm not
Can
happy
somebody
with this, mate.
can somebody do something? Just tweet us or on the message. Is anyone listening to this? Can we just play music or something like that? Or?
No, because what I want to do now is we have got another few wee bits. We've still got nothing about Pirates of Penzance, by the way. I don't see anything here. I don't know. Are you on Spreaker chat room or anything? Has anybody been saying anything in there?
Hi G. Celtic Dreams is on. Yeah,
nobody's
good stuff.
listening.
No, Celtic Dreams on. He's with Chapel Hall. You know the guy that does Celtic Dreams?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know him personally, obviously. Well, maybe I do.
Maybe he wants to call in.
Maybe he does.
Maybe somebody wants to call. Can someone please save me? I've got a sore throat. I really don't want to be talking. So who else? Sorry, here we go. We've got a few guys on the message room. Stevie 1888 is in there as well. Oh yes, Higgins. Someone's listening. So there's three of us. There's three of us listening. Beautiful. Thanks, guys.
That's all good. Right, I'm going to try my best here to jump between Twitter on my phone, and I'm going to try to go into the old chat room in there as well to see what's been said so that we can comment. But what I'm going to say, there was a point just before we came on air, Tom Doherty. The shout out to you, Tom. Thanks for tweeting us earlier on. Just a little bit before the show started, he came up with he's asked a question, he's posed a question, and it's a reasonable question. And it says, do you guys think that the inaction by the SFA over the Sevco debacle is caused by a genuine fear for their safety? Right, now it's not an angle I've thought on before, but what do you think, Patrick? Do you think that this is because they genuinely don't really want to speak out or highlight things and maybe get themselves into a little bit of bother, or people like Sally McCoist demanding certain outcomes if people do speak out? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of arse covering basically in the SFA at the moment. With the new sort of revelations coming out, and hopefully Jim, if you're listening, Jim is our intrepid reporter looking at all the Charlotte fake stuff, so hopefully he calls in with all the facts on that, because poor Kev has got absolutely no idea what's been happening the past week.
No, I know what's been happening, Pat.
You don't know? You told me 2 minutes ago you had no idea.
Listen, you didn't listen to me, mate. You didn't
Sorry?
listen. What I said was, I know I've been seeing what's been going on with the Sevconians in the Spivco files, which was another term that I saw that I really enjoyed. But so I've seen what's been going on. I just didn't know what the hashtag was you were talking about. I hadn't seen that. That's what I meant.
No, well,
Charlotte,
yeah. Anyway,
whatever it was.
Charlotte fakes. That. So
right.
Apparently the name. I was kind of curious what the name came from. Apparently, from what I saw, it was something to do with so like I guess a report and stuff like some guy did to try and take over Rangers years ago, and it was Project Charlotte apparently was what it was called. So this
Right.
this person, man or woman, has cleverly called their name Charlotte Fake. So, but yeah, I think like the stuff that's coming out, there's the SFA are certainly get more and more implicated, and eventually, like, if you think about this, the whole Rangers thing, no one has really been held accountable for anything that's happened. They've got away with everything, and I just cannot believe. And I said even when the Nimmo Smith stuff came out as well, it's how this stuff can't stick. How they've managed to slime their way out of this. And I just knew, I didn't know, I kind of hoped there was going to be something else that was still to come out. And I guess this is probably the last one. There's no, how many bloody things can these guys actually be involved in? It's like everything seems to be one scam after another now.
Yeah.
I'm not, a super duper intelligent man when it comes to business, but if even I can look at it and go, good Lord, seriously? You've tried this, and I can still remember when Charles Green came in, and it was the whispers about, he's just a front man for Craig White, and everyone kind of laughed at it. No one really sort of took it seriously, but as it turns out, it's looking more and more as if he was. So, and guys like Ogilvy, I have no idea how that guy's still in a job. I don't care how good an administrator, inverted commas, he is. I don't care how good he is. When he's up to his eyeballs in it.
Yeah.
And how he's managed to slime his way out of it, is just beyond me.
Yeah. No, I would agree that the point that Tom had made about is it caused by a genuine fear for their safety? I think that would be giving them an excuse. They're not intelligent enough to even have thought in that excuse. So if they were to find out Tom's tweet there that said, you know what, we could actually play that card. We could say we're a bit fearful, because they're not. It's just one comedy after another, and these guys will never react. They will never react to anything that comes out of that stadium that Bomber Brown used to play for. They never will, because they can get away with it. The complicit media, mainstream media in Scotland, will let them. They never ask the big questions, and the difficult questions. So, do I think that it's caused by a genuine fear for their safety? I'd love to think that was the case, but no, I don't think it is. They're just cowards, and they're scared of the I'm going to actually make it sound as if they are scared for their safety. They're Rangers supporters, pretty much, and that's the reason that they're not really doing anything to punish that team anymore. So anyway, we've been joined on the show by Mr. Jim Kinlan, good friend of the show. How are you, Jim?
I'm good, mate. How you going?
Very, very good.
Just finished my dinner.
Excellent, Jim. Now, what was it tonight? What did you have?
Oh, nothing, man. We just got those chickens. That's all I had, was just some chicken sandwiches. That's all right.
Just a roast chicken, Jim?
No, for myself.
I feel like Boss Hogg used to do.
That's right,
on Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, I know. No cutlery. No, just
wolfing it right in there.
Just tear it apart.
Yes, this is a little royal family. What'd you have for your tea there, Jim?
Oh, chicken.
What'd you have for your tea?
Venison.
It's all good, Jim. So,
yeah, I know.
What have you been up to, mate, since we last spoke to you?
Oh, working. Oh man, I tell you what, I was just saying this in Pat. I was just skating Pat earlier on the night. I don't know. No, I miss it so much when we don't have a show on a Friday. I really. No, I don't know what to do with myself.
Well, it's good to know that we've got one tonight, and you're playing an active part in it as well, Jim, which is all the better, mate.
Yeah,
it's about time though. Let's be honest, it's about flipping time. You keep threatening to come on, and all of a sudden,
I was on it 4 weeks ago, and you've only had one show since then.
See, there you are. Jim's keeping a record.
Yeah, I'm on defensive now, so yeah, all right.
No, that's all good. No, that's all right. Aye, that Charlotte fake stuff, man, that's mad, isn't it? I mean, it came from nowhere in 2 days, and it's like 8,000 followers. There's only been 15 tweets, and they only follow one person, Rangers tax case. So I was saying that, I was talking to Pat about that. Is it a coincidence or who knows? But we seem to be working in tandem because I don't know. It was like Rangers tax case had only done 3 tweets a year, and now they've done another 30 tweets in the last 2 days. So I don't know. So it's just if it's a coincidence, there's one there.
I think he's been resurrected. I think he's got his energy back again.
I don't know. Maybe whoever that person is, male or female or whoever it is, it might be. Maybe I don't know. But yeah, they've certainly came back to life. So I don't know. But it was funny what you just said a minute ago, Kevin. I think you just hit it right on the nail. I just think they're like half of my Rangers supporters. I don't think they could finally just put the last nail in the coffin and try and give him somewhere to come out the side of it. But God, it'll be interesting what happens here. I don't know what's going on in the summer.
It is. I mean, we've said it several times before. I'm getting a wee bit of feedback here, boys. I think it's because I've got a stupid Spreaker thing open there. Wait a minute. Right, we'll try that now. Yeah, I think it's the present that keeps giving. We've said it before, but it really is. It just keeps getting better and better, the story. And just as you think it can't get any better for us, something else crops up like this. So who's to know? It might come back again, and the Sefco going to bloody administration, liquidation, and all the good stuff follows again. If Craigie White puts his claims on the assets and takes them for himself and flattens them, builds houses or whatever his plan is for that, brilliant.
It just doesn't seem credible that this could ever happen. It just seems just too far-fetched. If you come up with this 2 years ago, it's just too far-fetched. I mean,
We'd have been dreaming it though, wouldn't we, Jim? We'd have been dreaming it.
But I don't know. I mean, if any of these revelations seem to be true, what happens? I mean, where does the SFA hide? What happens? I've got no idea.
Well, that's probably part of it as well, because they don't know. They don't know how to act in this, because it's unprecedented. It's never happened. Well, it has happened before, but it's never happened twice.
No, if it's your governing body who's in on it and knows it, who the hell? Where do you go from there? If nobody to referee the governing body, arms.
Well, again, this is the saddest thing, because the farcical situation would be if this was any other organisation that was part of a global organisation.
Yeah.
You would step up to the next level, which in this case would be UEFA.
Yeah,
but UEFA
UEFA
always wash their hands of it. They always wash their hands of it, and they basically say, "Oh no, it's a Scottish issue, therefore the Scottish FA will deal with it." And you think, no, wait a minute. The problem is with the Scottish Football Association. So if they can't sort it, you guys need to step in. But that always gets dusted under the carpet and brushed aside by UEFA all the time. So until such times as they're willing to step in, nothing will ever happen.
I was just wondering about that honestly about 20 minutes ago. So I've not even thought about it and really thought about it a lot. I was just thinking about it to myself about 20 minutes ago. Has ever been a precedent this anywhere in the world where maybe the body, the governing body of a particular country's association are taken to task, be FIFA or UEFA or whatever? I don't know if anything this has ever happened.
It's a good call. I'm certainly not aware of it happening to any other national associations.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure there's a few more corrupt ones around the world.
I'm sure, yeah.
But I'm not sure myself, Jim. Are you still with us there, mate, or are you trying to sort out some audio stuff? Because I'm still definitely getting a little bit of feedback here. I don't know if it's going out, but I'm certainly getting a little bit of feedback, mate.
It's a tiny bit. I think it's just a Skype thing.
Right, okay.
I can hear it, but
right, okay.
No,
I thought it was because I had.
It might be, but I'm not getting feedback, so it's just a Skype thing. Hopefully it'll clear. If not, we'll cut you off. And
no. Well, I'll be cutting myself off after an hour and a half, as I've told you anyway. So you and Jim can keep the show going. So right now, the thing was, I'm going to mention this just now. We have got a few little bits and bobs to talk about tonight, but I'd asked towards the start of the show there about this Celtic connection with Pirates of Penzance. Now, nobody, unless somebody from the chat room has come in, but I've had to come out of the chat room because of that feedback issue I was having. But certainly nobody, all 50,000 listeners out there and tweeters and Twitterdom, we haven't had a response, Pat. So I'm going to ask and put you on the spot, Jim Kinlan. Do you know the connection?
Yeah, but don't ask me because Pat's already told me.
Oh, has he now? Now, Jim, you could have made yours without being honest. There, you could have just came out and maybe played along there a wee bit. And
I
support
support Celtic. We don't tell lies.
Correct. Well, we can see how that pans out later. But right, I'll put people out of their misery. But again, if you're listening back to this later on or whatever, in fact, I'm not going to do it. Pat, you were the one that came up with this, and I must admit, I thought to myself, where the hell's Pat going to go with this on the show on Friday? But I will hand over to you now, Pat, and you can tell us about the connection here and tell us about what this connection is with Celtic and the Pirates of Penzance, mate.
Well, should we play it first, or should we just have a chat about it first? Basically, what it was, let's get to the background of it. I was basically watching. Oh wait! Oh, Jim Rennox has just sent us a message on Skype. He's got it. Ding! Well done.
Jim's been on the old interweb, has he?
Yeah, he's cheating, cheeky swine. But anyway, so I was watching. This was over the weekend, and kids were a bit tired and stuff like that. It was late in the afternoon, and so, Dad, can we put the TV on? And we've got this little media PC, and I downloaded some stuff for them, and they started watching Mickey Mouse. I've never liked Mickey Mouse. I've got no idea why my kids like Mickey. But anyway, this is
always been a dick, that mouse.
I've just never liked it. But anyway, so
Dickie Mouse.
It's just all of a sudden, I can't remember which one it was now. It was Three Musketeers. It was called. So Mickey Mouse and Donald and Goofy and whatever. Three Musketeers, and all of a sudden, I'm just messing around in the background, and then like in another room. I'm like, what the hell? What's that tune? And it was a tune to the Celtic song, and I'm going, what the hell? Where did this come from?
You need to be specific here, Pat. It wasn't the tune to the Celtic song, was it? It was the tune to Hail Hail the Celtic.
Yeah.
So, which technically speaking isn't the Celtic song, Pat.
No, technically speaking it's not, but it's fans adopted. So,
it's the introduction to the Celtic song.
Yeah, but it's yeah. So anyway, thanks for cutting me off. Now you've completely lost my flow. But anyway, I just
wanted to correct you there, Pat.
Where the hell did this come from? So I went to try and find out, and it turns out that the first part of the Celtic song, which is Hail Hail the Celtics Are Here.
I would have a guess now as to where it comes from. Is it the Pirates of Penzance, Pat?
You got it. Diddle boo. So anyway, should we play it? Just play it for a laugh and see how we go. So
when you go, aye, batter in.
I don't know. So we'll play like a minute or so of it, and then we'll come back. So this is my amazing discovery, and again, it's all available on YouTube. So enjoy this little thing for a minute or two.
This little ditty.
All friends who blow the sea, switch to navigation, take another station. Let's ferry piracy with a little burglary. All friends who blow the sea, switch to navigation, take another station. Let's ferry piracy with a little burglary. We can't like tread upon the grave we steal. In silence tread, a cautious way we feel. No sound at all, we never speak a word. A fly's footfall would be distinctly heard. All friends who blow the sea, choose to navigation, take another station. Let's verify the sea. With a little burglary, we get the dread.
Right, so there you go.
Yes.
I'll just try and fade this out, boys. I've no idea if it's going to work, but anyway, you get the idea.
There we go. Right, so there you go. So, Pat, what's the name of that little ditty, mate? The little ditty. Because I'm sure this is now going to reach number 1 in iTunes. If all the boys and all the girls are going to rush out and try to download this now, obviously.
I can't even.
Isn't it?
It was amazing. So, yes, Gilbert and Sullivan from 1895 or something like that. So, the thing I like about it, I found it a bit amusing that all those years ago that there was effectively I don't know when it came into the start of the Celtic song and stuff, whatever Glenn Daly. I guess it'd been the 60s when he came out with that song. I guess I don't really know enough about Glenn Daly, but you think that that's been a fan's add-on, I suppose, and the way I looked at it was the 1950s or 60s version of Just Can't Get Enough. It was this popular song that lots of people knew, and it was adapted into a Celtic song. So I just thought it was
You've got some wild thought processes, Pat.
Well, actually, I tweeted some stuff to Jim. I don't know if he had a chance to read it, but it was I can't even remember if I've done it myself now, but it was along the lines of this is the theory that some guy, Michael Garngad or something, that was his name, Mickey Garngad.
McLaughlin or something like that, but Garngad was his nickname on it. Right.
Yeah, so I sent the link through to well, I sent it to you, Kev, as well, so you obviously didn't read it.
I'm very selective with what you said, but
there's lots of stuff. Anyway, so this guy apparently, now the whole myth was, and the reason we bring it up is to see if anybody actually knows if this is true or not, but there's two theories that go on the Celtic song, and one apparently was that this guy called Mick Garngad, who was Mick McLaughlin, his real name, wrote the Celtic song and sold it to Glenn Daly for £5. Mm-hmm. So again, I found another article online that said that Hail Hail the Celts here was actually taken from a Belfast Celtic song. So It's one of these ones. Does anyone actually really know where it came from? But it's a cracking little article. I'll maybe even tweet it out. The RoystonRoadProject.org. So I'll tweet it out, and it's a poet from Little Island, and it was actually quite interesting just reading this stuff. But apparently the guy that wrote this song, so from the Garngad, obviously, and I think he'd written something to do as well with Old Hampden in the Sun. So if anybody knows the actual facts on it, then let us know. And if there's any more, I think Jim was actually curious to know, is there any more of these kind of songs? Do we know where the songs originate from? I just assumed it was Glenn Daly. But turns out it wasn't.
Yeah, nah, that's fair enough. I reckon that. I mean, I didn't. I knew that about. Well, it was an add-on. The Hail Hail the Celts Are Here was an add-on. I never knew of its origin or anything like that either. But yeah, that whole Pirates of Penzance thing. My guess is some guy that likes guys running about in tights, but he also had an affection for Celtic. And he thought, I like that little ditty. I think I'm going to put some words to that. Hail, hail, the Celts are here. And there you go. I don't know what more we can say about this though, Pat. Jim, have you got anything intellectual you'd like to say about
it? Nah, not really. Nah. What I was saying to Pat is, it's good hearing the origins of some of the old ones. I was just curious if anybody had some really old audio of really old Celtic songs, or I don't know, either on vinyl or recorded at the grounds or anything like that. No,
do you remember when
because you hear stuff in the 60s and 50s, but you don't hear much if there was another 30 or 40 years before that or anything.
Do you remember that they regularly play, and this is like every week, they used to play before the games, the Holy Ground? Remember? Nah? The Holy Ground, Fine Girl You Are, by the Dubliners. I can
vaguely remember old songs like that. And I started going, when did I start going? 1981.
Yeah. Oh, this was even later than that. This was, when would that have been? Mid to late 80s.
No, so
early 90s even. The Holy Ground.
I left Scotland at the end of 84.
Right. Yeah. Alright, so you wouldn't have picked that. Well, but I always assumed the Holy Ground was one that they played for like donkey's years.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's know if there's any songs, folks, that you remember getting played pre-match and things like that were always seen as, I guess the latter, the equivalent of the Fields Athen Rye, because it came and it was a brilliant success, and it's still a Celtic anthem to this day. But it certainly was never played donkeys years ago, the Fields Athen Rye. But there must have been songs that were always played pre-match. But yeah, the Holy Ground's one that always stands out for me. Has been one, and maybe maybe there was several games I was at, I just always remember it, but I thought that was always regularly played pre-match, the Holy Ground. But
I can remember. I had my cousins actually gave me a Celtic vinyl. It was like I think my brother chucked us out 20, 30 years ago when you wouldn't think you'd need these things, but and it was this album, and it had Sean South of Garryowen and stuff on it. Roll off the Dublin and the Green, that sort of thing. It was a genuine Celtic album. I can still remember it was like a big rosette in the front of it. And back in old record player days. But yes, it was even sort of songs like that are now kind of frowned upon, that were obviously part of the normal sort of a hymn sheet, I guess, for Celtic fans going back in those days, so.
Yeah.
Never a sectarian song, no, Pat. Never a sectarian song, just a political song. But let's not start that debate tonight, because then the show will go on for us. But Miss Minsky's madam has tweeted in 8 minutes ago saying, "What's he bumping his gums about?" Now I'm assuming she's referring to you, Patrick, and not Jim or myself.
Why are you insinuating that she means me?
Well, I think at the time when Madam was tweeting, I think you were talking about bloody Pirates of Penzance and Cat-like Tread.
Did
whatever the song's called. Cat-like Tread.
Yeah, very good. You actually know the lyrics. That's yeah. No, see, there's a delay on Twitter, so it was actually the nonsense you were talking about. In fact, just wait till I start talking about All Saints again, playing for All Saints, then she'll be whinging about that. Well,
actually, as soon as we come on it, we did get a tweet from @Dundalk Peter Hughes, who said, "Any more progress about this celebration of the famous match in '86 with the great Tilly Bungay Hartside?" Now, I'm assuming that's in reference to your exploits as a youngster, Patrick. Come on, give us a quick Tilly Bungay.
Tilly
Tully Body? Was that the Tully Body thing?
Tully Body Hearts apparently still exists. I did do a search for it. And
Tilly Bungay Hearts.
Tilly Bungay is a much better name though. So yeah. No, there's been no progress. I think Jim Blythe said he was going to look through all the microfiche newspapers and stuff like that. So hopefully there'll be a bit of progress. If you're listening, Jim, yeah, keep me posted, mate. Jim's
on the case. He'll find out about that 4-goal haul that you scored in that game that you were telling me about during the week.
Oh, do you want to talk about that now, do you?
No.
No. We could make this a regular segment. Patney's All Saints days.
What we're going to do is, there was we were talking about this earlier in the week, and as we know, season's come to an end. Another glorious season for us. Hopefully we'll do the double a week on Sunday. But it gets to that time that we all start talking about potential new signings. So we've talked a little bit about who'll stay, who'll go, and things like that. But we haven't really talked about who could possibly maybe come in. Right now, what we're going to do here is we're not going to talk about potential signings, the romantic type of stuff. Well, certainly from my point of view, I always like to see players we're linked with on the continent and things like that. We're going to bring it a bit closer to home, and it was something that you had mentioned earlier, Pat, and I think it's worth us trying to talk about is players maybe that little bit closer to home. So maybe talent that's available in even the SPL that's maybe out there, that is it possible that we might overlook them for maybe what might be seen as not taking a chance on them and trying to get somebody from Europe. So there was an article written, and it was on the CelticJournal.org website, posted by Sean Murphy, and he'd made a few suggestions of SPL players that would, if we were interested in them, would they actually improve our squad? Would they be first team players potentially? Would we be interested in signing them? So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time on this, if that's okay. We'll try and go through a few of these names and see what we think. And again, please, as we go through them, if there's anybody you can think of yourselves that might be worth Celtic taking a chance on, tweet us in at halftheworld88, and we'll try and discuss it, and we'll discuss the merits of it or otherwise. So first one up. Now let me see who I want to choose first here, because I don't maybe want to go with him first. I think we'll go with, I will talk about this chappie first. Mr. Lee Griffiths of Hibernian has been mentioned, right? Now, if we don't know Lee Griffiths, I'm sure we will, and we're going to come face to face with him in just over a week's time. Striker for Hibernian. The guy's only 22, albeit he's going a bit Anthony Stokes on top there. And he's a little striker. Would he be good enough for Celtic? Would he be worth taking a chance on? Would he get into our team? Would he be a squad player? Or do we just tell him to get to? What do you think, Jim? I'll come at you first on this. Lee Griffiths for Celtic. What would you think if we were ever linked with him?
I think he's a good player. Obviously, I mean, we're assuming then that Hooper leaves or something like that, because I really like Hooper and Stokes as a partnership.
Yep.
If Hooper leaves, I mean, we've got to find somebody else, because I don't think we can just rely on Tony Watt and Stokes themselves. And Samaras usually plays wide now at midfield, so we'd need some. Griffiths would be a good one. I'd like Griffiths.
Yeah.
He's young. He's got the talent. You know, he seems to be he's the right age for us to take him on. You know, he's somebody you can sell on in 3 or 4 years ago if he performs to the level you hope he does.
Pat, what do you think yourself about Lee Griffiths?
Yeah, I like him as a player. I think he's pretty exciting and something a little bit different as well. Whether he's, I don't know, it's not so much attitude, but I guess the bad news that goes with him as well is the thing I'd be worried about. And you know, that sort of thing tends to follow you a little bit. So I know he's only 22, 23. 22.
Yeah.
So 22 years old. I mean, in terms of potential, I mean, I guess you have to look. I guess the next one, or one of the other ones you talk about, would be Johnny Russell, and you sort of look at two of them. You know, sort of left-sided players. Would you, which one would you, if you were forced to take one of them, which one would you take? So, slightly different players in the way they play. Certainly looks a great goal scorer. There's no doubts about that. And it's just more the background stuff that would follow.
I think his attitude's been a bit better this year, so I don't know. Maybe he's grown up a wee bit. I don't know.
Well, that's a point. I mean, he's a young lad, so you do sort of dumb and stupid things when you're that age. So I suppose he's well doing it now when he's got an excuse that he's young than doing it later in his life. So, but, I
mean, it's
I don't know.
Sorry.
I'm just wondering whether it's one of these. Is it it's a 1 year wonder sort of thing, or is it? Because consistently could he do it? So he's been good, and it's one of those players. It's like a Niall McGinn sort of thing. He looks good in the Hibs team. You take him out of that, you think of Riordan when he came out of Hibs and stuff like that as well. But he looked an absolute star there, but just couldn't make the grade at Celtic. But on the other side of the coin, you get somebody who like Stokes, who looked equally good at Hibs, and in my opinion has turned it on at Celtic. So
yeah.
So I don't know. It's more the background stuff, but
the thing I do like about him, he scored like nearly, I think it's 28 goals or 30 goals, 28 goals. I think he's got for the season. And he's playing in a crap team, so he doesn't get that many chances per game, but he seems to find the net with a lot of them.
Let's hope that statement doesn't come back to bite you next week, Jim.
Well,
the old
maybe.
crap team thing.
Well, you know what I mean. They didn't bottom up. He doesn't get as many chances in a game as what Hooper does, but he's scoring the same amount of goals as him. That's what. No, I suppose I'm getting it.
Yeah. No, I think Peter Hughes is again Dundalk's well. He's thinks Griffith is a shoot. I must admit, guys, and I must admit this other game will maybe bring in a second. I'm going to have a similar answer for probably each and every one of them, because I've always got this view, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I've got ambitions above where we should have, but or maybe I'm thinking that some others like yourselves are just saying there, your ambitions are decreasing a little bit, because I look at guys like Lee Griffiths, and I think I've said before on a few shows that these type of players to me, you mentioned Derek Riordan there, Pat, and I think guys like Derek Riordan, guys like wee Willow Flood, these were guys that they caused us problems for teams that we played against in the SPL, and I always think that this was one of the reasons why we sometimes went and took a chance on these guys and signed them. Now, you could put a Lee Griffiths into that bracket again, as far as I'm concerned, and I just look at the team we've got just now, and I, again, taking your point, Jim, about if Gary Hooper was to leave, I hope Gary Hooper doesn't. I hope he stays around for a little bit longer, because I think he still could stay there for another couple of years and still get his move to the Premiership if that was ever to eventuate. But I look at the team we've got and I just say, right, okay, Lee Griffiths, if he was at Celtic and he was fully fit, would I be wanting to play him ahead of the guys that I've got there just now? Now, to me, the answer to that is no. And therefore, to me, a guy like Lee Griffiths would be bringing in as a squad player. The type of signings that I would be looking to make would always be the type of signings that are going to knock existing first team players out of that first team. That's something now, and that's went way back since I was away, to be honest. I always loved it when it was the close season and you were God forgive me, but it was always the bloody daily record. I would get up at the summer holidays, ridiculous time off school, ridiculous time in the morning. I'd be going down to wee Peter Russo's shop at the bottom of St John Street in Coatbridge to get the bloody daily record. Oh, God forgive me. But it was just to see who we were being linked with, and you know, the whole romance of some players. And I always remember that year we get linked with bloody David Ginola and stuff like that as well. And you're thinking, bloody hell. And I guess he ended up signing with Newcastle. But that was always the types of players that, whether we signed them or not, we'd always sign the odd one that would come in and you thought, oh, brilliant. And, you know, if it was, for me, if it was a European footballer or a foreigner, that was always a bit more exciting than somebody that you've signed from a Hibernian or a Dundee United or an Aberdeen or something like that. I don't know what it is, but it's, for me, it's always that thing. I don't look at SPL players. They've got to be an absolute, real standout for me to say, yep, I'd love to sign that guy. But no, Lee Griffiths for me, he's a good SPL player for any other club bar Celtic.
I always get much more excited getting the no-namers in from a team from bloody, a small league in Europe and getting one from Scotland. I don't know. It's just different because you don't know what to expect. Half the times I look at the players that they might be looking at in Scotland, and you're right. I go, nah, I don't want him, and I don't want him. I'm always excited to see what the other ones do because you don't know much about them.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's it as well. Maybe I was misleading you when I was saying that as well, Jim. I guess I was meaning to kind of say it doesn't need to be big name players, but I would always be looking for European players. It didn't matter, what country or whatever. It was just that going into the unknown, and I've always had it in the back of my mind that technically, the majority of European countries, technically their footballers are better than ours. Yeah. That's just it. Since I've been growing up until now, I think it's proven by the record that the Scottish national team has. We've got a decent group of young lads, but that's all they are. They're decent. They're not excellent. They're not outstanding. They're not world class or anywhere near it for that matter. But I think if you look elsewhere on the continent and you look at some of the more, as you would maybe term them, unfashionable nations, they can produce some real gems. Remember good old Lubo, of course. He was a guy that I think he always get put down he was an unknown. He wasn't an unknown in France. He was a fairly well-known and well-respected footballer. He was just unknown in our little backwater in Scotland, basically. Yeah. But that guy epitomised that type of signing. He was a technically gifted player that he excited you. What did we pay for Lubo? 350 grand?
He was 33 or something, wasn't he, when we signed him or something?
He was, aye. Yeah. It's just a pity we never got him a bit earlier or something like that. But again, if it wasn't for the likes of Joe Venglos at that time, that wee man would, our scouting net would never have captured that guy.
No.
At the time.
No. When they get past Blackpool, their scouting network.
No chance.
See, Kev, coming back to Griffiths though, bear in mind that I think Wolves have already said they want him back essentially at the end of the year, so they know he's got currency in the market. So, and you're probably, considering they've been relegated and relegated again, I don't think it would take too much to persuade them to sell pretty much. So you'd be getting them fairly cheap, I'd reckon. Yeah, I reckon you'd be $1 million or less. Because I guess they need the money, but they don't really want him back, and I don't think he really wants to go back there. But business is business and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know if Hibs can afford him. Depends, I guess, what sort of money Wolves are looking for. But the sort of guy you might pick up relatively cheap. So
see, this is again where I look at that and say, it's that whole inflated market in England and saying about $1 million. Now I go back again, another guy that's been in the news very recently, and a great ex-Celt, Stilian Petrov, who's announced his retirement and things from football due to his battle with illness. But Stilian Petrov again was another. Again, this was a bloody John Barnes signing, wasn't it, Stilian Petrov? But that was a guy that we managed to locate him from Bulgaria. You're talking about £1 million for Lee Griffiths. I'm certain if we went to a country like Bulgaria or maybe Poland or somewhere like this, one of the Eastern European teams, and you had £1 million to play with, and you just scout it. You basically looked in there and says, right, who's your up and coming boys to take a chance on? I'm still certain that you'd be getting bigger bang for your buck basically by going there and investing £1 million and taking a bit of a chance on one of these kind of players from one of these better footballing countries, if I dare say, than what we've got in our backyard in Scotland just now. Again, for me, that would excite me more than signing a guy like Lee Griffiths. That just would not excite me in the slightest, and it would show the level of ambition we've got. And I know a lot of people say, but we've got to spend within our means and all this stuff. But I'm not saying we need to go out and we need to sign guys at £5-10 million, even although it'd be nice. But I think you get better bang for your buck elsewhere in the world than you find in Scotland or definitely south of the border.
Well, keep in mind that there's, speaking of in Poland as well, is that I think there's some sort of rumour going around that they've signed that. I think it's a left winger, actually, whose name I can't even remember, but sort of rumours that they've already signed them pretty much. So again, it's one of those unknown unknown players out in the market there. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that comes true or not. But I'll try and find tweets for it. But it was certainly out there that he was pretty much signed up already. So I'll try and find it while we're chatting. But see actually who tweeted it. But be interested if that comes true.
Now, what about I'll mention Gary Mackay-Steven. His name comes up quite a bit, and he probably, admittedly, is probably one of the young Scottish footballers that does get quite a bit of airspace and quite a bit people talking about him and things like that. My personal opinion of Gary Mackay-Stevens is he's a better footballer than Lee Griffiths for starters, but I'll ask you, Jim. Again, same kind of scenario. If he was available, if he was interested, and if we were interested, is Gary Mackay-Steven the type of player you'd like to see coming to Celtic?
He's skillful. Honestly, in that, I'm going to just change the subject a wee bit. See the type of midfield player that I really think we need. See, we talked about what happened last week, and one of the big differences I think last week was having our captain back, Brown. I think we need a player. Brown's not the most technical. He's a good player, but he's not the most technical gifted. But he will bully and pull that team together and make sure that everybody's playing. I think we've got a few skillful players in midfield, and Mackay-Stevens is a great player. But if I was saying that I've got to get a midfield player just now, I'd want somebody who could be basically Brown's partner. And boss up midfield if Brown's not going. We still don't know what Brown's injury is going to be like next year. If it's going to be an on-off thing. I think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Or if it gets fixed for good, I don't know. Mackay-Stevens is a great player, but again, I think I don't know what one is it was mentioned earlier. But when Forrest, I thought Forrest a fantastic game. And you see how much we missed him as well. Yeah. Commons is another really great, creative midfielder we got. So I don't know if we need somebody like Mackay-Stevens. Really, I would be going more for somebody who I think is a partner for Brown. Wanyama's still talking about Stein. It'd be great if that was true. But so I'd be looking more for somebody in that ilk who would become like Brown's best buddy, if you like. I don't know. Mackay-Steven, yeah, great player. I'm not sure if we need him.
Pat, GMS as he gets called. What do you think about him, mate?
GMS, I would say I'm going to be a bit controversial here. This is me going out. And I did speak to a couple of guys in the supporters club at the end of last season about this, and admittedly I was drunk at the time, but I still stand by this. Personally, I would have sold Samaras in the summer and bought Mackay-Steven, because playing Samaras on the left wing, I know he's the prodigal son and all that sort of stuff, and the enigma and all that sort of thing, but I don't know, I'm never really sold on Samaras, and I just reckon Mackay-Steven is a genuine midfielder. He's smart, he's intelligent. You can just tell him in some of the passes he plays with his head up. Provided he has had a bit of injury issue. I think he was at Liverpool, wasn't it? Was he at Liverpool?
Yes, he was. Came up through the ranks at Liverpool.
Yep, and then signed, I think, for Airdrie. I think it was my hometown team from memory. And then it was from there, I think, to United. But so yeah, I think he's a great talent. I think he's a great player. And again, same thing as you said. If he was interested in coming, then I would happily slot him in as a left midfielder in our team without any shadow of a doubt. I think he's a great player. But going back to Jim's comment about a partner for Scott Brown, then if they're looking for that sort of box to box kind of player, then probably something they should be looking at. And I think the Huns are already talking to him is that guy Nicky Law from Motherwell.
Yeah, same here though.
So I think if they're looking for replacement and stuff like that, then he for me is capable of being a replacement. But I'm not going to talk him up if he signs for Sevco. So, but
I just think we're short in that department. I mean, you've seen what it's like when Brown's not there. We've got a lot of people run up. We do have creative players, but I really feel that Brown just grabs the game by the scruff of the neck, and pulls the players with him.
Well, I mean, he's a bit more experienced than some of the guys there, and but you'd hope and you'd think that someone like Ledley could do that, but I mean, it doesn't really do it. It's a different sort of role he plays, but you'd like someone like him to, just drag the team through games. Just when you think they're down in the dumps and and they're not playing very well, like Brown can, he's had his critics and I've been one of them, but he's certainly he picks them up, he picks the team up, and he gives them some sort of incentive to play a different way and play more energy and stuff like that. And I think when Lennon, again, when I was criticising him a long time ago, and Lennon's coming out saying, people don't really value what he does to they don't value what he does to the team the same way he does. And I think he's been kind of proven right in that. You just see what he brought on the weekend there when the whole midfield just looked like a whole different machine when he was there, and whether it's the energy or whether it's your so-called captain playing in the team, I don't know, but in terms of replacements, I wouldn't say there's many in Scotland. I think Law is the games I've seen him has been as fit and as energetic as Brown has. Whether he could play that sort of role, and whether I don't know if he has a Sevco supporter or not, whether he'd want to come to us. Yeah, I don't know, but just my opinion, I reckon. But
well, Tom Doherty agrees with you, Pat. He's tweeted in again to say that he's in complete agreement about Samaras. He's the Emperor's new clothes. I am in disdain here. He's been Celtic fans player of the year.
That's what I was just going to say. Celtic fans player of the year.
I don't. Yeah, I was surprised at that. I don't think he should have got player of the year.
I thought it was Commons personally.
Well, yeah,
I mean, there was a number of candidates. I think this season it's been really, really difficult because for me personally, there hasn't been one Celtic player that's been really, really stand out, head and shoulders above any other player. For me, there's been a few decent spells with quite a number of players this season.
Yeah,
Commons, yes. Kelvin Wilson, yes. Samaras, yes. My darling beloved wife's just brought me in a nice bottle of Heineken here, boys, to replenish my glass. That's marvellous. So yeah, there was quite a few. There was quite a few of them that for me could have been in with a shout. So was I disappointed that Sammy got it? No, I wasn't. I used to see Sammy. He used to frustrate the hell out of me.
Same
but see this season, I don't think he's really changed his game much. The thing that used to frustrate me more with Sammy than anything else was he'd maybe make a run, he'd maybe get tackled or lose the ball, or he'd run it out and he'd do that whole head in the hands thing, or maybe hands in the hips thing. Turns to the crowd and looked as if to say, "Oh, what's that all about?" And it would annoy the hell out of me, especially if he'd maybe lost possession, and the other team are taking the ball away from him, and he's just standing there, and you're wanting him to chase him down or something. Used to frustrate the hell out of me, but I don't think he's changed his game too much. But my impatience with a guy or my frustration with a guy has subsided somewhat, and I just accept him for what he is now. But I do like Sammy. I do like him, and he's one of those players that I was surprised after we'd got him on loan that we actually offered the guy a contract initially. But you know what? He's one of these guys that at the time I thought he wouldn't be there for too long, but he's actually been there for a number of years now, and he's starting to become part of the furniture, but not in a bad way. I think he's I think he's got a little bit of a feeling for the club now that I didn't think when he came he would ever be able to understand it or pick it up or things like that. I genuinely think when he does speak about Celtic that there is a little something there, and I like the guy. So would I replace him with Gary Mackay-Stevens? Bloody behave yourself. No chance. Good old Sammy. Gary Mackay-Stevens, to me, he is one of the players that in the SPL, I do think he's better than some of the other decent players. I'd put him in that kind of category. But again, he wouldn't excite me if we were signing him. The last player I think that we signed in the SPL, let me think about this in case I get this wrong though, but no, it probably would have been somebody like Scott Brown when we got him from Hibs.
Stokes.
Possibly Stokes.
Stokes.
Although I must admit I wasn't sure when he was coming back would we be getting the player that I remembered from Falkirk and from Hibs. Because I must admit I lost track of what happened to him when he went down to like Sunderland and all that stuff. And I wasn't sure what we'd be getting when he came back up the road. But no, Stokes, definitely he's been good, but at the time the signing of him didn't excite me as much as I do. I think it was Scott Brown was the last SPL player that we signed that I thought, no, I'm looking forward to this. But Gary Mackay-Stevens, if we were going to sign him in the summer, it wouldn't really excite me too much, especially if it was as a replacement for Sammy Patrick.
Well, you asked for my opinion.
I think
I could still have a pop at you though, can't I?
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
I think Mackay-Stevens stands out because he is one of the better players that we come up against.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's so much better than what we've actually got. I think we've got a lot of players, like we said, have only played half a season this year. But when I watch Celtic play Dundee United, he's the one guy I'm looking for. I'm like, oh man, because I hate that wee shit because he's a good. Don't come up against that many players in the Premier League. I'm scared enough. Maybe that's why he stands out me at ears, because he's one of the few that does. But I don't know if he's much better. Samaras, man, it was the same with me. I used to tear my head out at Samaras, but I think he himself has got more confident in that he belongs there now. I think he's a confidence player. He believes, I think, for the first time in ages, that the fans want him to be there. And honestly, for a guy coming in from overseas, he's one of the few that I really feel that he's a real Celtic player. Because most of them come in to play at Celtic to move to somewhere else. But for him, he says it himself. He's not going to go anywhere, Sammy. I really genuinely believe when he says he wants to stay, he does want to stay. I regard him as a Celtic man. I think for the first time in ages, he really feels as though the crowd is on his side. He still makes the errors. I don't think he makes quite as many now. I think it's meant to do with confidence as well.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe he feels accepted, and he can still be frustrating, but maybe not as much.
I'm going to kind of move off that subject a little bit now, but it's kind of linked, and Sammy will be involved in this bit of discussion, I suppose. But again, it was something that Pat, you had kind of brought it up earlier in the week with myself, and it was about it's something that Lenny seems to do, and particularly when Scott Brown, as we know, was out with injuries and things like that, he had to really, have a stand-in captain and things like that. But what he has been doing this season fairly regularly, Neil Lennon has been rotating that captain's role a fair bit. There's been a number of different captains that we've had for various reasons throughout the season, and I'd like to just ask, guys, do you think is that a good thing to do, or should we have a captain and a vice captain, and it just switches between the two of them, or how do you think it's worked this season? I'll ask you first, Pat.
No, I like again, this is an AFL thing, and my team St Kilda did this a few years ago. Is that they rotated the captain? Now, it wasn't a weekly thing. They essentially had their you could say the primary captain of the team. He went down injured, and they sort of rotated it and stuff like that after it. See, for me, there should almost be pretty much a captain in every, like the defence, midfield, and attack. There should at least be 2 or 3 captains in the team. It's not really. It's just not so much captains, more leaders in the team. So the actual captain on a day for me is somebody who tosses a coin, who goes over there and says heads or tails, and that's it. That's just my opinion. I don't really.
Do you not think they do the motivating on the park and things like that, though, and this talking on the park and?
Our team, no, I don't think they do. I think Brown does, but I don't. It doesn't. The guys at Ledley, I don't see him motivating the team anymore when he's captain or when he's not. He should be. He's that sort of player that he should be motivating and encouraging and doing what a captain's role essentially in the team anyway. And whether he tosses the coin doesn't bother me. You'd be all giving it to a goalkeeper, a sub flip the coin. It doesn't. That genuinely, truly doesn't bother me. I don't see there's any merit these days, and it's not like the Billy McNeil days and that sort of stuff, and they were actually and Roy Aitken and these sort of guys who would basically dictate play on the park. They don't. I don't see them. You wouldn't see Scott Brown making a tactical change on the park for the team.
No,
that comes from the coaching staff.
It does, yeah.
So in terms of playing the captain's role in the team, encouraging people. You're not going to tell people where to go. You're going to, someone's head's down, or like that guy's playing really well. Just try and get a bit closer to him. That sort of stuff. Well, they should be doing that. They should be doing that.
Get closer to him, Pat.
Yeah.
What are you insinuating here, mate?
Do we have to make this explicit? This one is that you? No, you know what I mean. Just get on his back. Get on his tail.
Keep your chin up, sort of thing.
But that shouldn't matter whether you're the captain of the team or not. They should be doing that anyway.
True.
You know what I mean? They should be doing that. They should be doing that anyway. So whether it's Sammy running out with the captain's armband, or Ledley, or Forster, or whoever else has had it during the year, genuinely does not bother me, not in the slightest bit. As long as they're playing the sort of leadership role on the park, to me is a more important thing. And it doesn't matter whether you get the captain's armband or not.
What's your thoughts, Jim?
I see you coming based that. I mean, especially that AFL link. I mean, I remember my team of Swans did the same thing with 4 captains. We used to sort of rotate them, and it was basically a leadership group rather than just one guy going out in the field. The thing is that I do get that, but I see what we're missing when somebody like Brown isn't playing. And it is really somebody who grabs him by the neck. Wanyama's somebody who could do it, but Wanyama's not a long-term Celtic player. We might get him for another year if we're lucky, but he's gone. But even somebody in that role, mould like Wanyama, who can grab the game by the scruff of the neck, who you knew who's going to be here as part of that leadership group. It's hard to bring somebody in and make them a part of a leadership group if you think he's only going to be there for 2 years and disappear. So it's got to be somebody who basically, I think, who breeds the ethos of the team to the other players coming in or coming through the ranks. So although you're dead right with Brown, he's not going to make any tactical, decisions on the pitch, but it's basically that whole bonding and fighting for the jersey. The bits and pieces that just give that extra 1 or 2% in the game.
Yeah. No, I guess because there's 2 aspects to it. There's does the rotating the captain's role work? Now I think and by and large I think it has this season, but I think there are a number of players in that team that can take that role on and do it quite well. I think in the past it always used to be, if somebody was marking an occasion, maybe it was their 100th appearance or something like that in the past, you'd give them the captain's armband as a token gesture. But I think on the occasions that Lenny's rotated it this season, it's because he's kind of had to rotate it, either through injury or that type of thing. But I think we do have a few players in that team that can. To me, a captain has got to be a motivator. So I do take your point, Pat, about you go on the park, flip the coin, and everybody really should be trying to play the part of a captain. A little bit of a leadership role, and if somebody does make a mistake or something, the player closest to you, come on, keep your chin up, come on, blah blah blah, whatever it's going to be, just something to motivate on the park. But you do, again, you mentioned his name earlier on, Pat, Roy Aitken. That guy just oozed motivation on the park, and somebody else from a recent ex-Celtic player that again, you could just tell by the look in this guy's face that he was a born motivator. Artur Boruc was his name. Right? Now, to me, he would be a kind of a Celtic captain. He could have been a Celtic. I think he did wear the armband a few times, because that guy was a motivator on the park. Whether it's the big gesticulations and you can pick that up a bit better on the terraces and stuff like that, maybe that's part of it, but he was a character, he was a strong character, and he was definitely a guy that you would think would be able to motivate players round about him, motivate those quieter ones that keep their head down and get on with it. So I guess from my point of view, I think the rotation of the captain stuff has worked fairly well this season. I still do think the captain has got a role to play in a team. They are the ones that I guess your more inexperienced players or your younger players look to for that motivation if things aren't quite going well in the park. Yes, I agree they're not going to tactically change things because that's all going to get done from the sidelines. But I think they still got a strong role to play in football and the SPL. Maybe not in the Aussie rules part or Jim, but definitely in the SPL. Now we've got Jim.
The way of AFL, the way that they look at it when they rotate is that it gives guys that aren't quite at that sort of leadership role, by giving them the captaincy on that day, they basically they build up to it and they learn how to deal with it in terms of the press, because obviously there's a lot of TV and radio coverage and that over here, and it's knowing how to deal with that stuff, and the interviews after the game where the captain's got to be there and always present and stuff like that. And it's, I guess, getting those sort of young kids to learn that role and develop and sort of, to see if they've actually got that sort of motivation, if they actually have got the skills to lead the team. And if that's what Lennon's thinking about in terms of putting Ledley and Charlie Mulgrew and these sort of guys there, then I fully back it. I think it's fantastic because Scott Brown leaves. It's kind of like what was the Stephen McManus became captain.
Yeah.
Literally because there was nobody else to do it. I'm not saying he was the best motivator, but there was literally nobody else left.
He was a Celtic man. Let's face it. He was a Scottish Celtic fan.
But there was nobody else to take the role. There was nobody else there that could actually took it. Whereas if you're bringing guys through and giving them that responsibility, whether it's once every 5, 6, 7 games, at least they've got it. At least you're then going to know at the end of it, does this guy have it? Are they going to run with that sort of captaincy role and actually say, well, yeah, do you know what, I can do this? So that's, I don't know, it's just letting them learn the roles, I suppose. But yeah, sorry, I cut you off there. Welcome, Jim.
No, I'm just going to, in fact, Jim, if you just bear with me a second, Jimmy Reynolds, if you bear with me just a second, because I need to give this shout out to a boy from Oz at Glenn Tick, who has tweeted us a few minutes ago there to say, only listening this week if I get a mention, considering I'm only 40 kilometres away from you. Now, I don't know if that's me or you, he's 40 kilometres away from Pat, or it might be Jim Kinlan, or it might even be Jimmy Rennox. I have a funny feeling though, at Glen Tick, I think I've been in correspondence with a boy from Oz, Glen Tick, before. I think he's just up the road from me here in Western Australia, so good on you, you've got your mention, boy from Oz. You can Skype us in or keep the tweets coming, and we shall continue to give you mentions and contribute to the show. But anyway, we have been joined by another good friend of the show, Mr. Jimmy Rennox. G'day, Jim.
How
you doing, Jim?
Very good, mate. Very good. You sound as if you're in a TARDIS or something there, Jimmy.
I'm actually in my room. I don't know what's happening here, mate. I've been banished to the room.
Listen,
not sounding too good.
It's coming through a bit twangy. It's a little bit tinny, but it's okay. It's okay. We all get banished to the room when this comes on.
Sounds like you're in the wardrobe.
Just about.
That's good to hear from you, Jim. I mean, have you been listening into the converse? Well, you joined the call a wee while ago, Jim. So I take you got the gist of that last part of the conversation about captains, rotating the captain's role, and Scotty Brown when he's been out. Obviously, we've had to have a few. I mean, in your view, Jim, is it something that's worked well, or it does work well for Celtic? Has it worked well this season, or any other kind of captain figures that you can see playing a role at Celtic? Or do you think it's even that important? Who's the captain?
It doesn't seem to be that important any longer. I mean, obviously going back to McGrain, Dalglish, I mean, these guys carried teams, don't they, I think it still could play a major role, but for some reason it doesn't seem to matter as much.
And I think it maybe does. I think it maybe does depend on. You can only play with the cards you've got, as the saying goes. So depending on the players you've got at the time is going to really depend on on the type of captain you've got, or are there a number of players that can play that role? For me, I think Scott Brown is just now definitely the biggest character in the team, if I can put it that way. That does have that kind of outgoing personality, but certainly on the park, I think we have missed him in recent times on the pitch. I think because I do think he's a bit of a motivator, Bruni as well. I don't know if any of you seen the little clip that Celtic had put up on their YouTube. It would have been available on Celtic TV, so you've probably seen it, Pat. But it was just they put it on their YouTube channel as well, and it was just showing some of the celebrations at the weekend there, just prior to the team coming out onto the park to get the trophy, and then back in the dressing room after it. But you see the players are milling around just inside the tunnel area, and they're lining up ready to go out on the park, and Bruni's got his weighing in his hand, and he comes in. Tony Watt's standing just at the side, and Bruni comes in, punches Tony Watt, gives him a dead arm. It's little things like that, and I'm not. It's just everybody knows that Scott Brown's a bit of a joker, and a bit of as he puts on his Twitter, although he doesn't do a lot now, but he's Bruni banter and stuff like this. The guy's definitely a character, and in this day and age, I think I've said it's been said so many times before, you don't get a huge amount of characters in the modern football game. But Scott Brown, I think, is definitely one of those guys. And to me, that is a good quality in a captain. It's a good quality to have in a captain. But anyway, that's enough. That's maybe enough about talking about the old captains. Now, I don't know if there was a ploy going on in the background while this show has been going on, because I did say right back at the very start that I was only going to do this for an hour and a half, and I explicitly said, if you're going to call in nice and early for us so that we can just wrap it up. I have a funny feeling Pat's been in collusion with Jimmy Lennox there to just come in.
Not at all.
To just come in at the death.
I did laugh because just when he called in, the speaker console was just ticked over 90 minutes, so I was having a bit of a chuckle at your at your exploits. So yes,
I never heard that. Kevin, I was watching the Broncos tonight, so I never actually heard you were only on for an hour and a half.
He's watching rugby. Seriously.
Right.
That was the plan, Jim. That was the plan.
Oh, okay.
As I said, I did say at the start of the show as well, Kralski, who joined the show a fortnight ago, he came in. I was honestly about to wrap the thing up, and then Kralski came in. And I thought, no, I cannot do this to the guy because he's a good lad, and I don't want to just say hello, cheerio. So, Jimmy, you're a good lad as well, so I don't want to say hello, cheerio to you either, mate. We'll keep it going for another wee bit longer if that's all right with everyone, and if everybody can stomach it.
Kevin, now don't forget that you have to do a little favour for Mr. Christopher McGuigan as well, if you remember the email. So
I do, mate. I've got it right in front of me, if you please. So I will do this right now. I will do this.
We're likely to forget this. So I think
it's a good reminder.
Yep. So essentially, just to let people know, look, Chris is trying to do. He's just trying to do a sort of little project where he collects some audio from different sort of Celtic fans, and he's asking different questions of different podcasts and stuff like that. And he did ask us if anyone called in. I did warn him that there's a likelihood that there'd be nobody, and he accepted that. That's fine. But he came up with a few questions. Mm-hmm. Even the first one I have absolutely no answer for because I think I've only read about 2 Celtic books. But anyway, I've just given it away. So essentially what he's trying to do, he's trying to collect, it's just a series of audio on sort of different Celtic fans. So I'm sure Kevin will answer the questions and hopefully the guys can give us some decent answers. So we'll
do that. We'll do that for our good friend Chris. It's the Homeboys, Chris, isn't it?
No, he's the Lost Boys.
Oh, sorry, Lost Boys. Sorry, Chris. We got an email from Chris during the week, and he's asked if we can ask these questions. So I'll just put it to you guys and see how we go. So the first question is, and Pat has given the bit of a game away for the first question. What is your favourite Celtic book? Right, I'll come to you first, Jimmy Lennox. Your favourite Celtic book?
I can't even remember the last one I read, you know that?
Well,
Playing
have
for
it.
Celtic, probably.
Yeah, playing for
I
Celtic.
remember I read that when I was a boy, but I can't
Mm-hmm.
really remember reading any. I'm sure I have, but there's none really jumping out at me.
Yeah. Well, we'll give
So
you a little
don't
bit more
back.
thinking time just in case, Jimmy.
Okay.
What about you, Jim Kinlan? Is there any that stick in your mind?
Actually, it's one I'm just rereading again now because I read it about about 5 or 6 years ago, but it was Lennon's biography.
All right.
And Neil Lennon, because he wrote it obviously before they became the manager.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just good to go back and read it again and see where they came from, especially when all that rubbish was happening last year. I'm reading it again and trying to get an insight. You know, you get a bit more of an insight where the rubbish that happened when he was a bit younger, when he was a player.
Yep.
You just refresh it in your mind and then whatever he's gone through in the last 12 months of the game. So that's probably the one that stick in my mind because I'm reading it now, but it's good to read it for the second time. It's actually, it's sticking in me now.
That's good. Okay. What about yourself, Pat?
I can't even remember the last book I read. Never mind the last Celtic book I read. The last
I
book
thought
read
you'd have been a bookworm, Pat. I thought you'd have been an absolute bookworm, mate.
I would, but in my job, being a sort of the IT game, it's all sort of Microsoft and Cisco and stuff like that. So I'm not going to bore the bejesus out of you with those ones. But the last one I can probably remember, and I didn't even probably get halfway through it, even though it was interesting, was the Matt McGlone one, the Emotionally Celtic.
Ah, yeah.
In truth, I don't even know where it is in the house. It's around somewhere. And I will make a point of looking it out. I think during the close season, this was my plan, was to to look out some of the old stuff, and also because I'm not really much of a reader, but Paul Larkin's books as well that I keep promising myself I'm going to one of these days get through them. So yeah, probably Emotionally Celtic would be, even though I haven't finished it ever. And I've had 3 attempts of reading it, but that would probably be mine. So, and Kevin, over to you. What would be your favourite Celtic book?
Well, I read Mark McGlone's Emotionally Celtic. Bloody donkey! I can't remember when it came out, but I've actually got a signed copy of Emotionally Celtic, not by Mark McGlone, I hasten to add, but by Pierre Van Hooijdonk, if you please. My old man had got it for me as a Christmas present, and he was in picking it up at Celtic Park, and Big Pierre was there at the time, and yes, he kindly signed it for me. Merry Christmas, Kevin, it said, from Pierre Van Hooijdonk, so that was a nice touch. So that shows you how long ago that book was out. But no, I've read a number of Celtic books in the past. Most of them, I guess, biographies. I've read Hartson's, I've read Petrov's, I've read Sutton's, I've read Martin O'Neill's. As far as a favourite goes, it's very difficult to say in my view, because, and again, this is where I become a savage, because usually the only part I'm interested in a book of a past player or something like that is the bit they're talking about Celtic. See, I usually maybe like reading about the lead up to them coming to Celtic, the immediate lead up, and maybe the immediate aftermath. And I always love to hear past players eulogise about Celtic and all that. But see all the other stuff about, and how I did at bloody Norwich, and how I did at such and such, and how I did here, and then I went on to do this. This is where I'm a savage, guys. I have to admit, I only love reading about the Celtic stuff. You know what I mean?
See, the other thing as well, I read much less than what I used to do. If I go to bed at night now, I don't pull out a book and start reading it. I get out the iPad and go to YouTube and watch all Celtic films and all that.
It's changed days, Jim. It's
I
changed
know,
days.
you don't read anything. You just lie in bed and just watch stuff instead.
Yeah.
That's what I usually do.
Yeah. No, you're right though. You're right. I must admit, when I saw that email coming through, and I was thought, bloody hell, my favourite Celtic book. And then I thought, oh no, I have. But again, I'm similar to yourself. It's a long time since I've read a Celtic book. I know what you were saying earlier on there, Pat, as well, about Paul Larkin's books. I've been kind of the same. I've been meaning to get round to getting them and getting a read at them, and I'm sure one of these days it'll happen. But I'm with one thing or another, I've not really got that much time to be sitting down and saying I could go a really good read of a book just now, because what with all the bloody social media and again, you guys all know what it's like. Half the world away over here from Paradise. We're you don't get as much. You need to look out for the coverage of Celtic. In some ways, it's very good, of course, because you can, if there's bad things happening or we've just lost a game, it's very quick to hide and get it out your system and that kind of thing. It's not in your face, and you don't have arseholes and Super Scoreboard and Radio Clyde and all that every few minutes and smug bastards in Scotland Today and STV News and BBC Scotland, and you know what I'm getting at, and your mates at work and stuff like that. They're there to rub your face in it.
Yeah,
if things aren't going well over here for us, and let's face it, it's not happened too much this weather, but it's very easy when you're half the world away to just you can kind of put it to the back of your mind, and it can stay there. But the great thing, of course, is as well with social media nowadays and the internet and so many great resources that we've got as Celtic fans. All the other podcasts, for example, on Hail Media, we try to do our wee bit with this farce. But also, loads of the other websites that are there. Twitter, Facebook. We're so lucky because there's so other many ways we can get not just a little bit of Celtic in our lives, but it's really up to date. It's really cutting edge stuff and up to the second news. That kind of thing. That I mean, years ago, Jim, you were saying earlier on, you've been out here since the bloody 80s. And I know a good friend of mine that's been out here for about 13, 14 years. He was just, even when he came out to Oz at first, he actually would drive a good number of Ks to a pub that they would actually, somebody would phone up from the pub and listen to bloody radio. On the telephone, listening to a commentary on Radio Scotland back in Scotland. They would actually drive to a pub to listen to somebody on the end of a phone holding it up to a radio.
I've done that before. Going to a night, pitch black, on the phone to my dad in Scotland. Well, he's got the phone next to the TV. I'm going about. I had a conversation with Tommy in Glasgow once. It was Christmas last year, and I was just chatting away to him about this sort of stuff. And I said to him, and this is true, I am more nuts about Celtic now than what I was 20 years ago. And the reason for it now is that it's in my face again. You live it, you can live it 24 hours a day because of the internet and everywhere else. Whereas back then, you'd get a result in a newspaper about 2 days later. It'd just be usually one line with nothing. It'd be fantastic if you ever found 2 paragraphs in an actual newspaper for you to read. So everything, you were always relying on people sending you videos of games you knew the scores of, and you never had anything that was up to date. Now everything's up to date, and you can be, you're right back there again.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference now. I'm more nuts about it now because I know it as quickly as somebody back in Scotland knows about it.
That is the beauty of it now. It is the small world we live in's get even smaller with social media now.
Yeah.
But anyway, right. Listen, we're digressing on this because I want to get through this for Chris. We've got a question.
3 books in the last year. I did read Phil McGollivan's book, and I've read the last 2 Paul Larkin's books. There you go. So I've read a couple. But
so, are you going to give us your favourite, Jim, or is it difficult to say a favourite?
I like this Finnan one because I'm reading it again, but it's from a different perspective. That Paul Larkin's book, not the last one, it's a novel, but that By Any Means Necessary, that was brilliant. That's a brilliant read. That really got me. Yeah, there you go. There's one.
That's a good shout out for Paul as well. That's a good shout out for Paul. So Paul's sales will rocket now on your recommendation, Jim. I'm sure Paul will appreciate that. Right, question number 2 for Chris then. Now this might be a little bit of an easier one for us to answer. I've got something in my head, but of course I've had a chance to see this. So this is coming at the 2 Jims here out of the blue. But so I'll maybe come at you first, Pat, because you've seen this. What is your favourite Celtic away shirt? Patrick Close.
The first one that jumped at me when I saw Chris's email was what era would it have been? 1984, 85-ish as a guess, and I actually still have it, believe it or not. And I'll talk about this and remind me before the end of the show. I need to chat about this. We're actually having.
Wait a minute. What are we at here? It's 10 to bloody 9, my time.
Right.
What's
I'll
this?
be very quick then. Right,
50
so
already. Christ almighty. We're doing it again.
I'll quickly say it then. If anybody in Melbourne's listening, on Scottish Cup night at the pub we watch a game, which is the Pint on Punt in Windsor, we're having a Celtic retro night, which is basically you wear the weirdest, oldest, favourite old Celtic tops. Now, I've still got all my old hoops, every single one. My first ever Celtic top. So actually, which I got when I was 10 years old. It still fits, Kev. It still fits me. Yeah, My belly sticks at the bottom of it, but it's still I can still get it on. But in terms of away tops,
wear it over your face, Pat.
Yeah, and even then it would probably be anyway. My favourite ever, I would say, and it instantly jumped out at me. It was the lime green top. And it was a Murdo McLeod era, Frank McGarvey. We wore it. We were wearing that against bloody St Mirren. St Mirren, yeah.
86, wasn't it? Yeah,
so
that was the very one from Scott Sport fame.
Yep, the 85-ish, I think it was because they played. I can still remember the first time I saw it. We played Aarhus away in like European Cup or a Cup Winners' Cup or something, and it was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, and I saw it. They came on, and that was the first time I'd ever seen it. And sure enough, my mammy, God bless her soul, she got, it must have been for a birthday or a first communion or something. I don't know, something like that. She bought it for me. So, yep, I've still got it. It's one of my all-time favourites. I don't know why it stands out in terms of away tops. I really liked it. And the other one would.
Oh, yep. Sorry, Pat. Has it got the old C.R. Smith logo on it?
Nope, no sponsors at that stage. Yep, there was no sponsors at that time.
That'll be worth a few bucks, mate.
Well, it's fairly worn, Kev. It was one of those sort of things that was never off me, pretty much. So, but yeah, that was probably one of the ones that sort of jumped out as. And I don't know if any of you guys remember. I'm not saying it's a favourite, but it's ones that jump out. For probably two seasons in a row, they changed the away top. The first one I remember was like a white top with green pinstripes, and that had been 1980, early 1980s, 81ish, 82. The first year they had a white top with green pinstripes, and then the following season they reversed it from a green to white pinstripes.
Yes, yeah. I remember seeing that as well, yes. I do remember that.
I don't know why, but that just kind of stands out. But certainly, all right, if we're going favourite Celtic away top, the lime green one.
The lime green,
don't know why,
right.
But it's...
Okay,
next.
Right. Jimmy Rennox, I'll come to you now. You've had a little bit of time to have a wee think about it, Jim, but what would it be for you? Your favourite Celtic away shirt?
I'm going to... The very first Celtic away strip I got was probably in the mid-70s, and it was that kind of green and black, like kind of Inter Milani looking thing.
Oh,
yes. Remember that?
Yes.
That was the first Celtic away top I ever got, and so I'm
vertical stripes. Vertical stripes, green and black.
76, 77.
I don't remember that very one, but I'll mention one shortly, but I don't want to do it before I come to Jim Kinlan. What's yours, Jim? A favourite Celtic away shirt?
It was that one. It was similar, I suppose. It was the one. It was one I had. It was in the late 90s. It was a black shirt with green horizontal pinstripes across it.
Horizontal pinstripes.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got it. I've got that one as well.
Do you?
It was a big. Sponsored by Umbro, I think.
It was. Aye.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Do you know one I've still got and I still wear just to annoy people? I've got a Bumblebee one.
I've still got my Bumblebee, yes.
I've got my Bumblebee.
The original Bumblebee, Jim.
The original one. No,
the Decanio.
The
Decanio.
Yeah. No, that was very nice, but I still wear it because people notice you.
Yeah.
I like that black one with the green stripes on it, the Umbro one. Aye.
My wee brother always, if he's going or was going on his holidays over to Tenerife or wherever, Spain or wherever he'd be going, he'd always take the Bumblebee with him, so that when they'd be going to the old clubs and that, the strobe lights would come on and it'd look mental. It's always good for attracting the girlies, he told me.
There was one that they done as well. Oh, no, that I really liked it, but it was one that stood out as well. It was it might have been the late 80s, or no, probably the early 90s. Well, it was two colours, but it was like a lightning bolt thing from one corner
A brown
to the other.
thing.
Do you remember it was like lime green at
I
the bottom?
remember it.
It was lime green
Green
at the
with
bottom.
brown or something.
Yeah, and
It was shit. In fact, one of our boys in the sorry, Jim, on you.
No, it's all right.
One of our boys in the Mandara CSC, we've got a Facebook page,
right?
And one of our boys had posted a picture of that very shirt. Remember this, because it was absolutely hideous. It was when People's,
that was it.
They had a sponsorship deal just for one season, I think, and the red, white and blue bloody People's logo on this kind of shitty diarrhea, brownie, greeny.
That was lime green socks and all that. Yeah.
Bloody horrific.
Well, I can actually tell you, we had a little meeting, a Celtic catch-up in Melbourne a couple of months ago, and I won't name names. I was going to do it, but I won't name names. Someone actually turned up from Sydney, and you know who you are, with that very top on. And I'm talking a couple of months ago. So yes.
Was it a male or a female?
It was a male. And his initials are BM. I'm not saying any more than that. Brian McAvoy. Oh, but
definitely no more than that. No.
It's out there. It's out. So
quite disgraceful.
Anyway,
I guess to round up the question number 2. My favourite one, and I thought maybe one of you would have mentioned it there, and I'm surprised you didn't, because I loved this one.
It's one where I really did love, so I don't mean that.
Right, you might upstage me here now. Then on you go, Jim.
Black one with wee bits of orange in it, about 10 years ago.
No, wasn't that one? Can't remember.
What I'm talking about? It was really black. It was really black. It had a little bit of orange on the sleeves, and the tiny wee bit of orange down the side. No,
I don't think that one.
Black shirt.
Oh, right, the one I'm going to tell you is, I thought it was the one that you were talking about, Jimmy, but it certainly wasn't in the mid-70s. This one was out. I could not tell you the year it was out, but it was, it must have been 90s, I'd say, anyway, but it was mainly black. It had green vertical stripes going down it, but not just green. I think it was kind of green and possibly a little white one going down as well. It had a collar on it though as well. It looked kind of retro Italian style, and it wasn't like full. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
I know what you're saying. Yep.
There was one. And I think at the time as well, I think it was my brother had this shirt, because I always used to get the home shirts. My brother always used to get the away shirts, but he had this one, and I'm sure there was no sponsor on it, which was an attraction as well at the time. But see, looking back over all the shirts, I think that's one of my favourite away shirts. I think a few of the ones that we've had very recently have been pretty good as well. I like the black. In fact, I'm wearing the black one right now as we speak. I like that one as well. But no, I think the one, if I cast my mind back over all the away shirts we've had, I really like that one. But
that came out when the People's thing collapsed. I'm sure it did.
Might have been.
Yeah, right, because there was 1 year, and I'm sure it was just after that People's thing, because you said that People's thing only came out for 1 year. I might be wrong, but I think it was a year straight after that. And then after that, C.R. Smith came in.
Charlie Robertson Smith. That was hideous. That sponsorship, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hideous. Anyway. Guys, before I move on to the third question for Chris, we've had a few little tweets come in as well, so I'm going to give a few little shout outs here. The first one I get is from Peter at GarnGadBoy67. He says that my friend Terry Daly, who's Glenn Daly's son, tells me that the Celtic song was originally a song of Belfast Celtic fans. So you mentioned that earlier on there, Pat, didn't you? Or
I think he might have copied and pasted that from the place I saw it. It was almost the same, I think. But
right.
Yeah, I can't remember where I saw it, but it was somewhere. Yeah, I can't remember, but it was like an old Talk Celtic forum or something like that. I can't remember exactly where I saw it. So.
Okay, well, he's come back with another one as well, saying I will ask him to confirm, so we'll see where that goes. Also, Tommy Doherty again, he says, he's at Funny Handshakes, his handle on Twitter. He says, if you only, this goes on to the books we were talking about earlier on, guys, as well, so if you only ever read one Celtic book in your life, you should read Archie Macpherson's biography of Jock Stein. It's tremendous. Now, that's one, again, that I've heard about. I've never, ever got round to reading it, but I have heard that it's right up there with one of the best reads ever. Certainly guys that I know have read it say that. And yeah, I don't know if any of you guys have actually read that one, Archie Macpherson's biography on Jock Stein.
I haven't, but I've heard exactly the same thing. I've heard it's meant to be really good. So
you're talking about it as being the definitive Celtic book or something.
Yeah.
Heard that. Aye.
So there's one for us to bear in mind. Peter Hughes has tweeted in saying that he has the Mankey 4 shirt in the house as well. He reckons it's about 91. And let's see what this. There's a picture's come in from Jerry D. Ever Always CFC at Ever Always CFC. What's he sent us in as a picture? Is it a strip? Oh Jesus! It's a million strips he sent us in. It's that I've seen this web page before. It's got all the Celtic kit right from our foundation right up to the present date. I don't know where the link for that is, but if we find a link, we'll put it out there and follow the away strips.
Yep, I've found one as well. Just looking, it's oldfootballshirts.com, and it's got just looking through some of them. It's like, oh Jesus, I forgot about that one. There's actually one there I can't even remember. I can never actually remember seeing, but when it sort of jumped out, I actually thought I had this for our retro night. Was the prison cell one that was like the yellow with the it was a C.R. Smith one. I can't quite see it. 1989-91, and it was bright yellow, but there was
it had,
the cell
it had
bar.
A lot of arrows. It had a lot of arrows on it.
That's
the one. That's the one.
Yep, it was. I'm sure I borrowed it off somebody, but yes, there's some crackers in here. I might tweet this out, but Jesus, my God, like the blue and green goalkeeper shirt from 94-95. Seriously, who was thinking about putting blue in a Celtic top? Never.
Disgraceful.
Well,
the one that I was talking about, or just trying to describe, was the 92 to 94 away shirt. The one that's pictured here's got the old C.R. Smith on it, but definitely, I think you're right, Jim. There was a season where there was no sponsor on it at all, which was great, and it was just after that People's shambles. So anyway, that was good of Jerry D. Ever always CFC to tweet us that little image there. That helped us get an idea of some of those pictures. So thanks for that, Jerry. Right, I'm going to come on to question number 3 now for Chris, and it is again. I'll ask you this first, Pat, so that the two Jims can have a wee bit of a chance to have a think about it. But the question is quite simply: which Celtic player, when they left the club, broke your heart? Patrick, which Celtic player, when they left the club, broke your heart, mate?
I'm not sure I'm allowed to say his name, but the little Petit Merde is probably the one that shocked me the most. I loved the guy. I absolutely loved the guy when and it was devastating when he left, and it was huge excitement when he came back, and I'm going to give you another All Saints story here, Kev. I'm going to give you another. You ready?
Good. Yeah, right, go for
this is when he came back, and it was a Sunday morning. It was in the Sunday Mail, and when it's basically, they had a fake picture of somebody like a Rangers player, but Mo Johnson's head on a Rangers top, and that was him coming back. And we were going to play in a football tournament in Lark Hall, of all places. And I can still remember it to this day.
The Devil's Country.
A guy called Pat Rafferty from Airdrie, if anybody knows him, say hello for me. But he had, are you ready for this? An Austin Allegro. We were in an Austin Allegro.
Yes, the round mobile.
An Austin Allegro on the way to Lark Hall. It was bright red, and I could only fit 3 of us in it. Driving over to Lark Hall for a football tournament. So that would be the one for me. That was fairly devastating. But the one that probably would have broke my heart most, it didn't. Luckily for us, it didn't come off, was Paul McStay. That last game of the season when, it was, I thought, I've spoken to guys in Melbourne about this, I thought it was the end of our club, that game, and he was throwing his boots in the jungle and stuff like that, and Please Don't Go was over the tannoy and stuff like that. I don't know if anyone remembers it, but I was in absolute tears. I was at Unity time, and I was literally in tears leaving the stadium. There's only been a couple of times in my life where I've actually cried because of something Celtic related, and that was one of them. I was in tears. I just thought that was the
You're
club
a
over.
soft old sack. You're a soft old sack.
But luckily, I was.
So who are you going for?
I'm
If you
going
had to pick one of them, Flymo or Paul McStay?
Yeah, Super Mo. Just that sort of
Super
just the age I was.
Mo,
It was
goodness.
devastating.
Right, I will come to you now, Jimmy Reynolds. You've had a little bit of a chance to have a wee think about it as well, Jim. But which Celtic player, when he left the club, broke your heart, mate?
Well, get back to when I was a young boy, it would have to be King Kenny. I remember my old granddad was.
I was going to say that.
He was upset.
You're still allowed to, Jim, but let's hear Jimmy's story first.
We must be the same age, man.
Nah, it was. I was about 9 or 10, I think. So
I'm older then.
he left it, and I remember my old granddad was really upset about it. He couldn't believe that now Kenny Dalglish had left. But probably later on, when I was a bit older myself, I would say Brian McClare, even though he was a kind of underhanded way that he left, but I thought he was a player and a half.
Yeah. I think because of that team that he was in as well, he never quite got the credit he really did deserve. Because I think the limelight was always on Flymo at the time. Because they were, certainly, well, from my memory, they were there together and stuff like that as well. But it was always and I don't know, is it because Flymo was always he was the character, he was your kind of Frank McAvenny type character in that Celtic team, if I can describe it like that. But he was the more flamboyant one, he was the more outspoken one, he was more media friendly, all that kind of stuff. McClare just got his head down and banged goals in for us, and I think he was a really, really underrated player. And it was no surprise how well he did at Man U, to be honest, either.
He was the first player since the 60s at Man U to score 20 goals in a season.
Yeah, I never knew that.
I remember that since Law something in 68 or 60. He was the first Man United player to score 20 league goals in a season since the 60s.
I never knew that. And I kind of felt a wee bit sorry for McClare at Man U as well, because he was just coming to the end of his career when they were really, really starting to dominate things down there as well. He went through some of the kind of bad times with them as well, but he was just entering those good times when his career was kind of petering out, I suppose, as well. But no, I would agree with you, Jim. I think Brian McClare was a great shout for that, because he was a superb player and a very kind of quiet Celtic player that went about his business. But bloody hell, he went about his business really well for us. Jimmy Kinlan, then, you were going to say, Mr.
I was trying to think of Mike. I'm a bit old. I'm 50 this year. I remember Dalglish leaving. I was about 14 at the time. And I was devastated at the time, because that was the time you'd always out in the street and playing football. And who was your best player? And I remember he obviously been doing it to take over Keegan. And I was laughing when Keegan left, and then bloody hell, Dalglish left to take his place. I was laughing at Keegan leaving, and then. Bloody hell, they're taking a player instead. And then a few years later, when I'm getting a wee bit older, I was about 19, and then Nicholas left Charlie. Yep. I was really upset when he left, because he was flair. I thought, he was fun. He was one of the players you'd want to go and see all the time.
Yeah.
And then you go back, 10 years ago or something, and it was when Larsson left. They'd be the three players they missed that I would probably didn't want to see leave the club. With Larsson, it was different. He was a Celtic player through and through. It was the end of his career. He went to Barca, he went to United. So he was basically showing everybody that he could have played for them. So you didn't grudge him leaving it.
Yeah.
But you still didn't want to see him go. But they would be the three in my mind that stuck out through different times in my life.
For me, I suppose it was, and you've just stolen my thunder once again, Jim. It was for me, and I must admit, when I was thinking over this question, I thought it's quite a kind of obvious one for, well, certainly a lot of younger Celtic fans as well. But I was trying to cast my mind back from, I guess, my earliest memory. I'm 40, 41 this year, but my earliest real memories and recollection of watching Celtic was round about it would have been early 80s probably before I can really start remembering things. So players that I remember being there was like these guys we've been talking about, Charlie Nick, George McCluskey, and it was always the strikers, because it was always the strikers I used to want to be when you were playing football with your mates. Bloody Frank McGarvey, Davy Provan, all these guys.
Great,
Flymo was there.
great strikers, man. They always buggered off to England.
They did. Well, that's
We
the thing.
we really had good strikers, yeah.
We never ever seem to struggle for strikers.
I know.
But again, when I think back through the whole period and then the bad times as well, I was too young to appreciate what it meant when guys like Charlie Nick, or I felt, for me it didn't, you know, it just happened. They were just there and then they were away, and I didn't really have much emotion attached to the whole thing. But so for me, that's why I'm saying Henrik, because he for me was one of the guys that he just became steeped in Celtic, the guy, and the guy still is, I think.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes for Henrik Larsson. I mean, 7 years at any club is a long time. And again, because he was a foreign Celtic player, you always knew that he wasn't going to be there forever, and it was always going to come to an end. And just like you're saying, Jim, nobody begrudged Henrik Larsson getting him, well, certainly the team that he moved to as well, bloody Barcelona, and then helping them lift the Champions League trophy and things like that. Nobody would have begrudged the guy a thing, but heartbroken. I don't get too emotional about these things, but I was definitely, I was a bit upset, I think, when when it was all coming to an end. You know, it wasn't like a shock or a surprise, but it was sad that it was that 7 years of, and let's face it, the guy was just incredible. It was as an all-round footballer. I've always had discussions in the past with mates when I was back in Scotland about who was our best striker ever at Celtic, and I would always come round to saying, for me, just the short time this particular striker was there, I'll always say that my favourite striker was Georges Cadet, for the simple fact that, to me, the guy just was a goal machine. The guy just scored goals from situations that some other guys couldn't. But as an all-round footballer, for me, Henrik Larsson's the best I've ever seen in a Celtic jersey in my more informed years, sort of thing. And I think it'll be very, very hard for that ever to change. But so for me, it's a fairly easy one, and I'm sure with Chris, when he's asking these questions around some other contributors, I'd be surprised if there's not a lot more people will agree with the whole Henrik Larsson thing as well. It's probably going to be quite a common choice. But anyway, I guess that's it's probably a little bit of editing required with some audio if Chris is going to use this for the Lost Boys at all, or whatever he's going to do with it. But we've got through the 3 questions for you, Chris, albeit it's taken a little while. Hopefully it's of use to you, mate. And yeah, hopefully you can use it for that little project that you're doing. So I think that's pretty much covered the questions for him. And guys, I think what I'm going to try to do, unless anybody has got anything further to add, we've now been going for, what's the time? 12 minutes past 9 my time. So you boys are going to be a bit further ahead than me.
It's 128 minutes, Kevin.
128 minutes.
Yeah.
Goodness
so
gracious me.
We're shorter than last time, so it's progress.
Which is always a bonus. Always a bonus.
We're moving in the right direction. That's good.
I'm going to have a quick last look on Twitter here to see if there's anything else that's come in here. Just
while you're doing that, again, just a mention for the Homeboys campaign to raise money for the Kano Foundation.
Yeah,
it's they try to do, obviously, get the 1,000 fans to pay £1 a month for 12 months. So the other day, I was basically waiting on my money transferring to my PayPal account, and I'm going to donate my £12 in one hit just to try and get some money for them, and I'll maybe even try and speak to the guys at Supporters Club for the Scottish Cup final night. Maybe we can do a bit of a raffle or something for them, because I think it's an absolutely brilliant campaign they're doing. So if you just go to the Hill Hill Media site, you'll see in there it's basically what's it called, A Grand Old Team to See is the campaign, and they're trying to get 1,000 Celtic fans to pay £1 a month for 12 months. So 12 quid it's going to cost you, or what would that be, $20 odd in Australian money. So not exactly a lot of money for most of us, but makes a huge difference to those guys. So if you can donate, I'm sure they appreciate it a lot.
Well said, Pat. Well said. So I think it's a good decision to wrap the show up now, because I've just noticed that Celtic Dreams is now live on speaker, so everybody will be tuning into that. so here as well, wrapping it anyway, boys. So listen, before I do close the show, I'll go round the panel, guys, and just if there's any little shout outs you want to give, or if there's any messages you want to say, or anything about what's going on at your local CSC or whatever. Jimmy Rennox, have you got anything you want to say, mate, or give any shout outs before we wrap it up?
Not a thing, mate. Nothing.
Not a problem. Nice and succinct, Jim. Nice and succinct.
What can I say?
But listen, thanks a million for
No
Skyping in
problem.
tonight, Jim.
Okay,
Appreciate
lad.
you. Appreciate
I'll
it,
speak to
mate.
you later on.
Appreciate it. Okay, buddy. Cheers, pal.
Okay, catch you later, boys. Cheerio.
Cheers, mate.
See you later.
Yeah.
I thought Jimmy might have stayed till the end there and just joined us, but not. He's got better things to be doing, obviously. Jim Kidlin, what about yourself? You get anything you want to say, or give any shout outs to anybody that might be listening?
Nah, no, really. You know who listens, actually? My brother listens in Denmark, so I'll say hello and tell him to give us a phone. There you go.
Does he know Morten Vikhorst?
No, he doesn't. He went to the Helsingborg. He lives in Denmark, and I says, how far away is it? You know, if it's in a different country, goes about 40 minutes away.
Is there not a bridge there now, Denmark?
There's a ferry straight across. He said he's got about 20 minutes, I think, he said, by train to get to the ferry, and then it's just a ferry straight across to Helsingborg.
Very good. What's his name?
Kevin. He listens to the other Hail media shows as well. So
excellent stuff. So that's your brother Kevin?
Yeah, he's my wee brother. He's in Denmark.
Good on you. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show, Kevin, and hope you've enjoyed listening to your big brother Jim make his fantastic contribution to the Half the World Away show again tonight. Good on you, Jim.
Good. Aye, guys, take it easy.
Are you staying with us, or are you bugging?
I'll stay for a wee while then. I'm not doing it. Wife's away with it.
We're going to wrap it up in a second anyway.
I've got 168 minutes to go, so let's just keep it going.
Stop it. Right, Pat,
right, so
give your shout-outs and do your bit of advertising and spiel for the Jockstein CSC.
Yep, so we have Scottish Cup final, obviously, next Sunday. It's a midnight kick-off. We'll try to get all the guys in the pub, I think, by 11 o'clock, because they're trying to pull a swift one so we can actually watch the game in the pub together. So that's nice. All I'll say. Yeah, it's retro night, so look out your old Celtic tops. Look for those really dodgy away tops. It could be a bit of a laugh, seeing people turning up with the most obscure, weird, horrible flipping looking tops. I think I've picked the one I'm going to wear, so I haven't quite 100% decided, but I think I've picked the one I'm going to wear. So so you can follow the club on Twitter. It's JSCSC Melbourne, so at JSCSC Melbourne. And just follow that. I normally post some stuff out. There's a Facebook group as well. I think it's probably linked on the Twitter account. So if you're in the Melbourne area, come down and join us. And I'd just like to do a little bit of a plug, I guess, for our piss poor attempt at a podcast. Just all we'll try to do is just try to get some more people to tune in and listen, I guess. So if you can, just maybe, two things. One thing is to maybe in preparation for next season, because sad as it is for you guys, we're going to try and hang around for next season as well. So if there's anything you'd like us to start in the podcast, any little segments, anything you'd like us, anything different you'd like us to do, then drop us a message on Twitter, or which Kev has said at the start. So it's halftheworld88, so at halftheworld88, or drop us an email at halftheworld88@gmail.com. Any ideas that you have, we'll certainly take it on board. And if you can, just maybe try and spread the word for us a little bit. We know we're the new kids on the block and all that, but if you can just take a couple of minutes to, if you listen to the podcast and you like it, maybe just tell one of your Celtic supporting mates. And to steal a phrase from our good friend Tommy in Glasgow, tell 10 to tell 10. So if you can just spread the word for us a little bit and hopefully get a few more listeners. And essentially this podcast is really about what you guys contribute to it. So we put certain stuff in, and we start the show off, and then we see how it pans out. That's kind of the way we do things.
See how it pans out.
And see how it pans out.
You got it in again.
I know, it's a late entry, but
That's
But
good.
yeah, like it's kind of a podcast for you guys. So if anyone, even if somebody wants to come on and contribute, I know it's an odd time back in Scotland, but if there's anyone in this corner of the world and from Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Singapore, anybody wants to take part in it, then drop us an email. You're more than welcome to join us. It's not really about us; it's about you guys as well. So that's my little plug for the podcast, Kev.
Well said, mate. Well said. And I will just echo all of that, mate, because yeah, we want to get other people involved if possible, but the regular contributors as well. Thanks very much for keeping it going as well, because it's great. Myself and Pat, we always have a little bit of a plan and a little bit of a checklist of stuff that we can go through if we're struggling. But thankfully, we've never really had to, because we've always had a few people kind enough to Skype in or keep tweeting us, so we've always got plenty of content to keep the show going, and we have done yet again, going for bloody 2 hours 20 minutes. Honest to God, man. Anyway, what I'm going to say before we wrap it up is that the Mandara CSC going from strength to strength over here in WA. Again, like Pat, we've got our next game. Unfortunately, is not this Sunday against Dundee United. Satan aren't showing it in Australia, so I'll need to find a means to watch it over the internet, but we will do that. So our next live game is going to be the Cup Final. Again, it's going to be shown in Friar Tuck's in the one and up area of Mandara, which is kind of South Mandara. So if anybody's listening, you're in the area, feel free to come along to that. It's a 10 o'clock kickoff, I believe, in Mandara, which is a bit better for us. Ray, the owner of Friar Tuck's, tells me that they will accommodate us most hospitably, even if it goes to extra time and penalty kicks. We'll still be managing to quaff a few beers, etc. It's just a pity it's a Sunday, because there's plenty of us are going to be working first thing in the Monday morning. But who knows? We might be able to wangle a little day off work or something like that. Who knows? But fingers crossed, it's going to be a great night, and we get a good turnout again. We're usually averaging about. Okay, I think in fact the worst attendance we've had one week was about 5 of us were in there. I wasn't there that week because I was hungover from a party the night before. But most times we'll get between 20 and 30 people there, which is, to be honest, I've been really pleased with it, the way it's going. So yeah, shout out to all at the Mandara CSC, and again, anybody that's listening that's in the kind of South Perth area, or if you happen to be around about Mandara on Cup Final Day, by all means, please get in touch with us. You can tweet us, the Mandara CSC, at Mandara CSC. You can get in touch with us there and give you any details you need. And yeah, we're actually on Facebook as well, but I guess the Facebook page is more for actual members of the club, because it goes into the nitty gritty details of the runnings of the club. But anyway, that's a little shout out. I'll give a shout out again to the old pals back in the Erngobra CSC in Coatbridge as well, if anybody's listening there. Hope you're all well back in Scotland. And yes, I think that's pretty much it. But I think before we close it, I'm just going to try and introduce what we've got as our little outro this evening. Pat again has done his business on the audio. He's getting very, very impressive with this now, and I love it every time he sends these little files through to me to have a listen to. And Kev, here's the intro for this week, and here's the outro, and they're brilliant. They're first class. But Pat's done a little bit of mixing. We mentioned this at the start of the show as well. This week's been there for some. There's been several anniversaries this week, with the sad passing of Tommy Burns' anniversary. But it was also the anniversary of Seville. We never actually got talking about that. That was something for earlier on, but we won't go into it now. But also it's the 12th anniversary of Bobby Murdoch's passing this week. And what we've got is a little tribute to Bobby Murdoch, a little bit of his story from the Human Torpedo, that many of you would have heard these before on Celtic Underground podcasts. And Pat's managed to get the audio file from the Human Torpedo. He's even managed to dig out the good old Mogwai soundtrack, and he's done a bit of mixing there. And hopefully you'll agree this is a fitting tribute to Bobby Murdoch, to close the show out this today, and yes, hopefully it's you all enjoy it as well, and we will see you on the next show, and hopefully a fortnight's time.
Well, actually, Kev, we should briefly mention that, because next week's the last game of the season.
Are we going to be doing one then? Do you reckon?
I don't know. Should we?
Friday?
Are we putting us on the spot? What do we reckon? Or do we do a wrap up the week after? What do we reckon?
I think we could.
We'll get back to them on that one, I reckon.
We'll get back. Yeah, keep your eyes on Twitter, folks, for all our regulars anyway, and we'll see how we go. But yeah, we'll maybe do one next week. Good point. But anyway, Jim, listen, thanks very much for joining us on the show again tonight and your contribution. It's always good to speak to you, mate. Good on you, Jim. And thanks again to Jimmy Rennox for calling in earlier as well. And your good self, Pat. Good on you, mate, as usual. And thanks to everybody that was in touch via Twitter as well. And yeah, I think we'll wrap it up now, guys. And Pat, if you don't mind playing us out with the Bobby Murdoch tribute. No hail, everyone.
Hooroo, guys. Cheers.
Bobby Murdoch, the complete footballer. Another slice of Celtic history from www.kerrydalestreet.com, the Celtic Wiki. Celtic Football Club has been a proud home of many great footballers. From the gallus genius of Patsy Gallagher and Jimmy Johnston to the goal-scoring prowess of Jimmy McGraw and Henry Larsson, the history of the Hoops is rich pickings for anyone seeking a football hero. But among all those to have ever donned the famous green and white, few, if any, was indispensable to the Celtic cause as the legendary Bobby Murdoch. Born in 1944 in Bothwell and raised in Ruther Glen, Bobby signed for Celtic as a part-timer in August 1959, when he combined his fledgling football career with an apprenticeship as a sheet metal worker. Initially farmed out to junior side Cambuslang Rangers, he joined the Parkhead ranks on a permanent basis in 1961. Bobby's first team debut came against Hearts on August 11, 1962. He would make an immediate impact with a debut goal after just 7 minutes, as the boys won the League Cup tie 3-1. Part of a youthful but underachieving Celtic side, the teenage Murdoch was initially played in the forward line at inside right, where he was a competent rather than outstanding performer. As talented as young Bobby was, no one at that time could have possibly imagined that here was a player with the potential to become one of the greatest in the history of Scottish football. No one, that is, apart from Jock Stein. When Big Jock returned to Parkhead in 1965, one of his earliest decisions as manager was to withdraw Bobby from the Hoops forward line and put him alongside the tenacious Bertie Ode at the very heart of his new look Celtic. It was an inspired move. Now fielded at right half, Bobby Murdoch blossomed. Strong and powerful, Murdoch coupled a robust physique with a delightfully delicate touch. His broad frame was perhaps more typical of a midfield workhorse, but his elegance on the ball proved beyond any doubt that here was a genuine football thoroughbred. In attacking mode, Bobby Murdoch posed a nightmare conundrum few defenders could solve. His vision allowed him to frequently dissect the most organised and resilient of defences, with passes of seemingly impossible precision. With the ball at his feet, Bobby conducted the sweet symphony that was Jock Stein's Celtic. His play displayed an almost intuitive telepathy, and the likes of Johnston, Lennox, Chalmers, McBride and Wallace all revelled in the sublime intelligence and passing of Murdoch. Bobby's astute distribution gave Celtic's play a sophistication unrivalled in Scotland, but his weaponry also included less subtle tools, one of which was perhaps the most explosive and accurate shots in Scottish football. While Bobby's qualities on the ball are those best remembered, he was equally effective in his defensive duties. Murdoch had a wonderful sense of anticipation, and this allowed him to quickly close down opponents and pick up stray passes. He battled for every loose ball, and few rivals came out on top against his fearsome and fearless tackler. Voted Scottish Player of the Year in 1969, it is little surprise that with Murdoch in the engine room, Celtic collected trophies by the barrowload. Bobby's collection of winners' medals include the European Cup, 7 League Championships, 4 Scottish Cups and 5 League Cups. By the time he moved on to Middlesbrough in 1973, Bobby Murdoch had played 484 games for Celtic and scored 105 goals. Jock Stein would later comment that Bobby was about the best player he had ever managed. It was a remark few experts would challenge. Yet despite all this, the Celtic midfielder was selected just 12 times for Scotland. It is a total which is little more than an insult to the immense talent of Bobby Murdoch. Indeed, it is a total that says infinitely more about the attitude within Scottish football than Bobby's ability. But while his fellow countrymen were reluctant to fully recognise Bobby's talent, illustrious opponents from around the globe had no such hesitation. As the legendary figure of Elenio Herrera reflected on Inter Milan's defeat to Celtic in Lisbon, he declared, "Bobby Murdoch is my complete footballer." In the run-up to the World Club Championship in 1967, a scout from Racing Club was emphatic in identifying the main threat to his team's chances. He said, "Bobby Murdoch, he is Celtic." Roberto Passaiola, coach of the Fiorentina side, eliminated from the 1970 European Cup by the boys, remarked, "Murdoch is a papa of the team. The rest are the sons around him." Bobby Murdoch died on May 15, 2001, following a stroke. He was the first of the legendary Lisbon Lions to pass away. Modest and unassuming off the pitch, Bobby Murdoch was adored by a Celtic support who recognised not only a wholehearted and world-class footballer, but also a real gentleman. His death touched everyone who had Celtic and football close to their hearts. As acclaimed writer Hugh McIlvanney wrote in his tribute to Bobby, "Celtic have never lost a more distinguished son."
I would like to leave this city. This old town don't smell too pretty, and I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. And when I leave this island, I book myself into a soul asylum, 'cause I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. So here I go, still scratching around in the same old hole. My body feels young,